Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy Jalo coming in from a different dimension just to let you know about this video or this live stream that I recorded that apparently I didn't record on or went live on YouTube. As you're gonna see in a bit, where I'm like I do something. I'm not gonna spoil anything. I do something where I kind of see whether or not I'm gonna stream on both platforms, and then as you see me trying to clip, and then I go like, all right, I click on the record or the go live for YouTube, and apparently it didn't register, and I wasn't live on YouTube. I was only live on Kick. So this is my attempt to get that live stream onto my YouTube because I really enjoyed it, and there's no way to, excuse me, there's no way to download your past live streams from Kick so that you can upload it to YouTube. And your lives on Kick only stay there for like about a month, and then they get automatically removed from your channel, which sucks. But I really enjoyed this stream. Hope you guys enjoy it just as much as I did, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace. Hello, hello, testing, testing. Mic is on. Um, Let me see what else is the volume on. Nope. Okay. Okay. Better, better. Alright, stream is up. I'm contemplating on whether to stream on YouTube right now, so I can multi-stream. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. Ooh, excuse me. Yo, I always tend to yawn when I throw up my stream, but before that, I'm not even yawning. Why? Why is that? Can you please explain? Anyways, all right. Ooh, I know what to do. I know what to do. I know what to do. I'm gonna do coin flip. Coin flip, baby. Oh, okay. Coin flip. All right. Head. Coin flip. Heads. I stay streaming only on Kick right now. Tails, I stream on both YouTube and Kick. All right. So here we go. Flip. Fuck, it's Tails. Okay. So, okay, we'll stream both on Kick and YouTube. That's fair, right? Right. Let me see. What if I do it again? Would have been hits. Okay, just to make sure it wasn't rigged. That's funny. Bro, let me clip that. Like the clips. That is. Clip about his name in here. Exclamation mark clip. 200. Clip. 100. Clip. Clip 200. Are you here now? That sucks. Okay, that's fine. All right, so boom. All right. Um all right. Yo, what's good, YouTube? So I did a coin flip on Kick stream. I tried to clip it, but it wasn't letting me clip. So I did a coin flip, tails. I streamed both on YouTube and Kick today. Heads, I just stream on Kick and it landed on tails. So here we are. I tried to clip it but it wasn't clipping. Playing some B Rising. Have this server that I've been slacking on, and I want to get some progress done. But at the same time, the Joe Rogan podcast, with this guy, I think his name is Billy Carson. Can't see it. Yeah, Billy Carson. Looked pretty interesting, and I was about to just play my game and just watch this on the side, but I figure let me just throw it up on stream. So here we are. So without further ado, hope you all are having a wonderful day, weekend, whatever time it is, day, night, evening. I hope it's going wonderful. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. Shout out Cinnamon Toast. Anyways, anyways.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day. Yeah, so the thing is about that photo of the moon that they do with the phones, they found out that that's kind of bullshit.
No, I took.
I want it to be
know, I took it too, but what it is it's AI. And so what someone did
this is AI?
Yeah, what someone did online, one of them clever kids, they took a very blurry photo of the moon and they put it on a screen across the room.
Okay.
And then they zoomed in on it as if it's the moon, and the camera showed detailed craters.
Oh, well, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like this,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
no, that's a real picture.
yeah.
So that you just use the 100x zoom.
Yeah.
You didn't use the moon photo thing.
Yeah, no, this is just,
I didn't know that you could
outside.
There's a
do that with AI.
to that.
They're going crazy with AI, by the way.
I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, if you zoom in on
I wonder,
it,
can I? Ooh, I
on the
can
moon.
press.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think that's real.
That's
See, that's
cool.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I think that's AI.
The AI recreates it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. I was showing off
It's
to my
pretty incredible.
family.
Yeah, listen, it's
I have the 22, I think the S22 Ultra.
Yeah.
I had the older one,
Okay.
and I would take photos of the moon. I'm like, look, iPhone's bullshit. It can't do this. But it turned out it looks like I got fooled.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because you can't hide stuff like that on the internet, technology stuff.
Right,
Those guys are too good.
They know everything.
They know everything.
Yeah.
But we were just talking about the difference. I'm just really thinking about switching to Android. I'm just tired of being trapped.
Yeah.
And it's just like this resistance. Everybody's like, don't do that. I'm like, oh my God, it's like a mind virus. Like everybody's like culturally locked into having a blue bubble.
But when you tell them you're going to switch from Apple, then Agent Smith shows up from the Matrix and he like, inhabits their body, and they try to tell you to stop doing it. Don't do it. Like try to convince you not to leave.
It's like if you were a Catholic and you said, I'm going to become a Baptist.
Right.
You know, people would go, don't do it.
Right.
Don't do it. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's not that much different.
I know. It's crazy.
It's weird.
Yeah.
People get weird with everything. They get weird with their beliefs. They get weird with what they subscribe, what group they attach themselves to.
So true.
It's so strange. And I think this is a good way to segue into like what you do, and because these subjects, so many of these subjects, so many people have like an instantaneous reaction.
Yeah.
And that instantaneous reaction is, oh, hogwash.
Yeah.
If this was true, I would already know about it. It would be taught in universities. It would all be. But then you find out, like, no one is really just kind of trying to piece stuff together, specifically talking about these ancient tablets, which are, to me, some of the most interesting things about ancient history, particularly what came out of ancient Sumer.
Yeah.
Ancient Sumer, when you look at their tablets and, like, what are they saying, and why would they dedicate so much time to talking about
pause real quick, and let me bring down the graphics. I'm gonna just trust that this is what's going on right now. Let me bring down the not the oh, okay, it's that actually. Oh yeah, it's good. 1200. Maybe I could bring it to maybe a good, because it's doing it on both. So let's bring it down to 35. What do you think? 35 bit rate. Cause right, so 35, 7,000 in total. Kind of helps with the, in a way, I feel like. I'm gonna try it out like that. Hopefully the bitrate isn't that bad. I want to stream. I could bring it to 45 actually. 45, because then that'll be 9 overall. Let me see, 45. Yo, what's good, Penta? We'll see if 45 bit rate is good. Some Russian dude just tried to scam me, so I blocked him. He even threatened to report me. What do you mean? How? Had to ban him 3 times because he kept coming back. What the hell? How did that even happen, dude?
this stuff?
Exactly.
Why do they have pictures of giant, enormous people-looking things?
You added me on Discord?
With a
Yeah, you gotta be
tail
careful.
sitting on their lap. Like, what is this?
So
Just
he liked my stream,
fiction?
blah blah blah.
Like, why would they?
Telling you, you
detail
gotta be
this? And
careful.
How do they have a representation?
Bro, people that go on your stream, like, that's why every time I see somebody come into my stream, I can immediately tell they're a bot when they're automatically just, oh my god, you're such an amazing creator, da 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 da, hit me on Discord for some promo opportunities, this, that, and the third. Immediately scam. There is no reason for you to believe that they enjoy your content all of a sudden right away, and then they have opportunities for you. I don't fuck with that, but I'm glad you caught it, right? 30 bucks, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, to get me something to get a lot of followers. Yep. And he has almost 50k followers. Bro, those are bots. Those are not real followers. Those are bot followers. Like, you know, like they get their account in such a way that it looks like they know what they're doing, but they're just scamming. You know what I'm saying? That's why, don't get me wrong, I should be in other people's stream more often and show more love. And I try to do that from time to time, but you know, I have other stuff to do, and to be honest, like, sometimes I just want to chill, you know, which, I mean, look at my views. Like, I know people are just chilling, you know, they don't really know me like that. So why would they give me a view like crazy? So it don't matter to me. I want the organic grind, right? Just like this game V Rising, it's all about grinding and farming and shit like that. And any other game, I appreciate the grind, you know. It feels so much better getting there organically than unorganically. And you know, most of these big these big content creators and streamers, you see them with a ridiculous amount of views, and they just popped out of nowhere type shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's like some of that is just view bots. You know, so you can't really take it, you know, too serious. Like, and that's their whole like stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of people do view botting, and I think that's pretty gross, if I'm being honest. Um, but do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? I can't say much on that topic because where am I at right now? I'm not making no type of crazy income or whatever. I don't have sponsorships. I don't have any of this. So who knows? Maybe there is some type of, I don't know, professionality into that, but I don't know. I do this for my enjoyment. No one's gonna take that away from me. To be honest, I genuinely enjoy streaming. You know what I'm saying? I'm willing to just do it like this. You know what I'm saying? Even if somebody else may not find it as appealing, it's whatever. It's my safe place. You know what I'm saying?
I'm growing weak. I need to feed.
Yeah. We'll see.
Of the solar system with the correct amount of planets and relatively the correct order and size.
Anyways,
it's not
welcome.
Exact, but it's an artistic version of the real thing.
Yeah.
And how the hell? 6,000, 5,000 years ago, do they know that?
Yeah.
And what explanations do we have? Like, what's the conventional explanations when people try to dismiss what they knew in ancient Sumer?
I just started the stream.
Explanation is always going to the term mythology. They throw mythology around, you know, left and right to cover up the fact that they have no clue or idea. So they turn it into mythology so they can kind of say it's all fantasy and fairy tales, and this is how they express themselves or how they understood the universe. It's all mythology, it's all fake, but in reality, it's not all fake. These people left behind such detailed records and information. It's a time capsule of information on stone tablets for us today to be able to decipher, break down, and understand, and that's what we're here to do now.
When you look at these ancient languages like cuneiform, can you read that? Do you know how to read it?
Yeah, a small amount of it, yeah. Studying it from books that I have bought right off of Amazon.
Oh.
Yeah, so basically you take a stick. It looks like a stick with a kind of a curved end, right? Almost sharpened. It's called a stylus. And then
just like a stylus for an iPad.
Exactly, very similar, right? And then you take a piece of wet clay, and right before it's too wet or too dry, right in the middle stage, you then start wedging, making these incredible lines into the clay, and then from that you get this cuneiform text. So this text literally, you know, some of the letters actually relate to complete ideas. But it's incredible work, and it takes a long time to do. And then you have to let this thing dry, and then it becomes stone. So, you know, if people were supposed to be trying to worry about
sparking 0 by the end of the year, maybe in October, and they announce local. So that's nice. Yeah, I've been getting constant updates in the Discord. That my own Discord, and then the Hype Child Discord. I think people are posting stuff on there. I'm not sure, but I'm getting stuff from like Victor and John, said Andy, and all of that. Like, they're all sending me stuff and keeping me up to date with all that Sparking 0. Yo, Mandy, what the fuck? Mandiness? Look, you see? Straight up bot. Message that is already predetermined. Like, it's already, like, literally speak of the devil. Like, look at this. I checked your videos. Seems like you're new in kick streaming and still not affiliated. I am affiliated. I got a proposal for you. I will share your stream to Kick community for you to hit 1,000 followers and earn nothing less than 1,000 per streaming. I'll generate organic followers and viewers for you. Enable your sub button. Chat me up on Discord to discuss more. My Discord. Seems legit. Yeah, right. Nah, thanks for the follow though. I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? But I'm good, dog. Like, you know, it's hard to it's if you're legit, that's cool, but it's hard to trust people like this. You know what I'm saying? Like it's literally hard. Like you don't know if it's ever something that's gonna be genuine, but it's like he had the man copy paste that message right into my chat. Like as soon as he followed, ain't no way you're not a bot. Like, no, thanks, man.
How they're going to get their next meal, shelter for the night, and all these kind of things. Who has time to sit down and write these incredible works of art like the Epic of Gilgamesh, for example?
Yeah.
So I think they really were writing down, and also they were transcribing information that was given to them by these quote-unquote gods with the lowercase g.
So when you're reading things
Look,
like
they
the
just
Epic of Gilgamesh,
write that.
the Epic of Gilgamesh for people.
They literally just post that, say, "Hey, I just followed you," and then never respond right after. If you're still in here, Mandiness or whatever, hit me up. Tell me something that a bot wouldn't say. Huh? Alright, I'm all ears. Rating. Oh. Right. Right, you're not real. In the ways of science. Bro, I swear.
People don't know is one of the oldest versions of a lot of the stories that you hear in the Bible. Very similar to them. They seem to be. There always seems to be a great flood. There's a few heroes. There's angry gods. There's a bunch of stuff going on, and Zechariah Sitchin's work was like the most controversial on the Sumerian text, right?
Yes.
Because there's a whole website called sitchiniswrong.com. Like people go crazy about him.
Yeah.
But when he starts talking about it, when you read some of the things that they wrote, and when you see like some of the images that they created, the images that look like the double helix from DNA, and there's a bunch of the like that now we represent the caduceus, which represents pharmacies and drugs. Like that's the old version of an image of the double helix of DNA, or at least it looks super similar to that.
Oh, it definitely is, because it's referenced even in the Egyptian Book of the Dead and other ancient texts. So there's no coincidences here. Now, Zechariah Sitchin, I don't particularly go by his work. Not because it's controversial. I believe he was one of the greatest researchers of all time. And the reason why is because he laid out so much information for us to begin to scratch our head and ask questions. But what I figured out was that by going through the UCLA CDLI online cuneiform digital library, say that fast 10 times, I was able to take stone tablets and decipher them myself. So anyone can go online to the UCLA CDLI online cuneiform digital library and read these stone tablets for themselves. You don't need Zechariah Sitchin. You don't need anyone else. And as I began to break these tablets down,
Do they have them transcribed, or are you reading the actual tablet?
they transcribe them. They actually transcribe them into English for you.
Is there controversy as far as, like, are there different versions of the transcription? Like, do some people think it's interpreted differently? Is, like, some debate about that?
Only where it comes to where some of the text is missing. There could be pieces chipped off of tablets.
Right.
You see that corner missing from that tablet right there in the Epic of Gilgamesh?
Just look how wild is that?
Yeah,
Just how
incredible.
wild is that exists?
Yeah.
And that this was... It's so hard for people to put in their brain 5,000 years of time, and that there's these people that have this very bizarre language. Like when you look at that language, we don't even know what it sounds like, right?
No, and the language popped up out of nowhere. You're talking about a civilization that appeared out of nothing.
It looks like computer code.
It does.
Doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Just imagine like a human being deciding that they were going to write down in these very bizarre, and they all agreed that all these things mean a certain thing, so they had to somehow...
Hold on, I need to see this full screen.
or another have a Rosetta Stone or something where they're documenting it so that people can learn it and teach it. And then we're looking at it 5,000 years later.
Yeah.
It's so amazing.
It is. And what's incredible is this text was translated in the 1800s, long before Zechariah Sitchin was born. So there are some, some rumors that, he was the only one that could decipher these tablets. Well, no. George Smith, who worked as an Assyriologist and wrote many books and deciphered these Sumerian tablets in the 1800s. So we're talking about texts that have been deciphered for a few hundred years, nothing that was just deciphered recently.
So what are the first decipherings? Like, what year was the first deciphering?
It was in 1800. I think around 1850. George Smith. He actually worked at the I believe it was Cambridge.
And what was his take? Like, when he's reading all these wacky stories and all the Anunnaki stuff? Like, what's his take on it?
He is literally subscribing to this information the way almost that you and I see it today. These people saw something, experienced something, interacted with something, and he cataloged it, and it inspired him to write a complete translation of the Enuma Elish and the 7 tablets of creation. And he talks about the fact that that information was copied right from those tablets and put into the Old Testament of the Bible. And so, not exactly like it's going to go from here to the Bible, but it went to other ancient papyruses and scriptures and so forth. And then later on, when it was discovered in caves, people took those and then said, okay, we got to put this into a book. And then it became the Bible much later, around 100 AD. But he subscribed to the theory that these people interacted with beings in some way, shape, or form, and that also this information is so incredible that it became part of the biblical text.
Did you ever read the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Yes.
So the Dead Sea Scrolls was found in... What year was that? It was in Qumran. They found
It's Qumran, but I think again this was also, I believe, in the late 1800s or early 1900s.
Is when they found them. So these things are written on animal skins, and this is this is a very old version of those exact same stories, or some of similar stories.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weirdness in the Dead Sea Scrolls. I haven't read it, but is there any references to anything that's similar, like Anunnaki type characters, the Nephilim or anything like that in the Dead Sea Scrolls?
They show up everywhere in the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Enuma Elish and the Epic of Atraces. Of course, even in the Bible, they're known as the Anak, A-N-A-K. We will grasp our eyesight, it says in the biblical text. So no matter where you go in any culture, you're going to discover that these beings, in some way, shape, or form, engaged mankind, brought knowledge, teaching, building techniques, and just so much more wisdom, information, esoteric wisdom, alchemy. All these things came from these people.
So the craziest version of this story is that they genetically engineered us out of lower primates and put us here to mine gold.
Right.
And then established different types of civilizations and taught us how to build things, taught us all these different things. And enough time has passed that we've kind of forgotten. Enough time has passed. That's the wackiest version of it, right?
Right. That's the bare bones minimum.
Yeah, the wackiest version is that they made us, which is, we've talked about this a couple times, but how bizarre it is that human beings have this incredible fascination for gold. We're fascinated with gold. This fascination with gold is really weird. Like, why back when it was basically useless? You couldn't make a knife out of it. You couldn't, it didn't make sense that this would be so valuable. Just because it's rare, you're barely alive. We're going back to full-on hunter and gatherer, our ancestors with spears and stone chipped, and then after that, gold emerges, and it stays. It stays forever. Now, when you read Zechariah Sitchin's book, he talks about this in the 1970s. His description of it was that they needed to suspend gold particles in the atmosphere because their atmosphere is being destroyed. Then you move to somewhere around the 2000s when climate scientists start proposing this idea of suspending reflected particles in the atmosphere.
Right.
And then when you realize the unique properties of gold, how unusual it is in terms of a building material, you can coat things. The reason why things are coated in gold, gold plated rather. You can take a tiny piece of gold and cover an enormous area with it. It's a strange metal.
Yeah.
Really weird. And what, the supposed story is, it's very common on Earth, very rare. on Nibiru.
Right. Yeah, that's the story. And then when I started looking into this gold thing myself, and here's what I came up with. So when you start analyzing the text, you discover that there was an encampment in a place called South Africa at Adam's Calendar. Okay. Now at Adam's Calendar, there's actually the very first gold mines discovered. They're dating them back to about
But I was gonna die
2,000
there.
years ago. And that's incredible because there's a building there that looks like a worn down structure. Now, in the tablets, it
New
talks about the
knowledge
fact that the
acquired.
Ijiji, who were the working class Anunnaki beings who were cleaning out the Euphrates and Tigris River so they can create irrigation and create a bustling civilization. Also, they were doing the actual construction themselves. No people needed, just them working. They were like the construction workers, and Anu and Enki and Enlil, these leader gods, were like the foremen, the master architects and so forth, right? The boss. So these people were working, but they weren't supposed to be enslaved. They were volunteers. They got tired of doing the work, according to them, for about 250,000 years of labor on Earth, and also, according to them, on Mars. This is in the text. They call it Lamu. And so they decided to go to war against Enki, Enlil, and Anu because their demands had not been met. So they went to meet them in the Epic of Atrahasis. They go to Adam's Calendar. They go to that same structure that was discovered where that gold mine is located. I was like, holy crap, there is some link here to gold. Specifically, exactly, I don't know, but I know if you're an advanced civilization, you need gold. And the people that you have working it for, you probably think, it's to adorn or to adorn yourself or in recognition of the god, so they'll wear it and they'll utilize it, but not for technology. But what's crazy is they go to war, they go to get ready to go to battle, and then Enki says, I have an idea that will stop this war. There's an existing being on this planet, existing, not something that doesn't exist, existing. We can add our essence to it with a slain god. So they're talking about taking the DNA or genetics from one of themselves and mixing it with the DNA of the hominid that was here. It's not specified whether it was, an ape man or anything, but they don't specify in the tablets. But to create a worker being. And they began to do this genetic modification, probably disconnecting some of our DNA, making genetic modifications to us to get us to take orders from them. They inserted something called a worship gene, which was just discovered recently, that human beings have a gene inside of them that can be turned on and turned off. It can be turned off in a laboratory setting. It can also be turned off with a magnetic field around your head. And when it's off, you don't want to worship anything outside of yourself. You look inside, and when it's on, you look to get something from the outside. So this is incredible. And so they made us worship
a
people.
Gene
Yes.
inside of us to make us worship them. Wow,
Right.
genius.
It's incredible because then you're not a slave anymore. You're doing this for the honor of the gods.
And for people who think all this talk is really crazy, I want to put into perspective that we talked about this the other day, that during which war was it where the Soviet Union was experimenting? It was scientists in the Soviet Union, correct? They're experimenting with creating a chimpanzee human being hybrid that they would probably send to war.
Yeah.
So instead of having regular people, we would make this monster, this freak, ape man, and send him to war and have him
Program.
crush the enemies.
Yeah.
It's like it's just how crazy is that? They knew how strong chimps are. I got an idea. Let's turn a chimp human, and that way, if he dies, who gives a fuck?
Right.
We made him. Get him to go to work for us.
Yeah.
And now, if you're a supremely enlightened being, wouldn't you think of human beings with all of our folly and all of our chaos and all of our war and bullshit and the internet and disinformation and misinformation? Wouldn't you think of us kind of the same way we would think about that chimp hybrid thing?
Yeah.
If I was I was the president of Russia,
Yeah.
I want my cousins to go to war?
No.
Or I want to send this freak that I
Exactly.
made in a lab?
Yeah, and what's interesting, I'm glad you said made in the lab. They had talked briefly in that text about fashioning people. In other words, almost
How did
like
they say it?
They said the word fashioning, fashioning a being.
What was do you remember the actual quote?
I would have to look it up, the actual quote.
But they
Yeah.
describe it as fashion.
Fashioning, because they said even the lamb hadn't been fashioned yet, so they had fashioned lambs. So they fashioned, and it's also in the Epic of Gilgamesh, they fashioned the friend that Gilgamesh went on the journey with. He wasn't born from a woman's womb. They created him. They created him an artificial being to go on this journey in the Epic of Gilgamesh. So they used that phrase several times in the tablets. But they said, no, wait. It was almost like that's not a good idea because in some ways it seems as if they had known that the idea of making these too many artificially created people wouldn't be a good idea. Now, they didn't go deeper than that, But you can see where we are today with AI and everything else, and these these robots that are coming. Maybe they knew something about that, but they decided to take a biological being and genetically modify and program that to do the work, and that's exactly what they did.
Well, if they really knew what we would be capable of and that we would be illogical, overpopulation would be a gigantic issue. And in many parts, I mean, it's not really that big of an issue here except for in cities, but in many parts of the world, it's the whole country.
Yeah.
The whole country is New York City, which
Right.
is just fucking bonkers.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to wonder, it's actually not true. It's like, it's not even that bad, even in China. China has a lot of open space. But when you're in those cities, they are massive and they are filled with people.
Yeah.
And that is probably what you'd imagine a higher being would do if it was like us, like kind of illogical and kind of a little bit reckless and
Yeah.
has a little bit too much technology for the average person that didn't develop the technology, but all of a sudden you got some 85 IQ dope who has access to all the things that all these geniuses have created.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you could figure. We talked to Michio Kaku. He built a nuclear reactor in his house
Right.
when he was a kid.
I heard about that. That was crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
That's so crazy. But there's a lot of
Damn,
different stuff
a
that you
nuclear-
can do and have access.
A nuclear reactor in his house at a very young age, to me sounds crazy as well. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Access to technology that is beyond anything you would ever be able to invent with your own mind. But because we share things across the board, you would imagine that if you were an enlightened being from another planet that's a million years more advanced than us, you'd go, I see where this one's going. You know, like you have that cousin who's an alcoholic and then he wins the lottery, like, oh shit, Derek just won the lottery.
Yeah.
Fuck. This is gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
Derek's got $200 million. It's
Right.
gonna be fucking insane.
It's crazy, and they knew they were going outside their own guidelines and their own laws, their parameters, because they made a statement in the text. They said the creator of all is going to punish them, or they would have to answer to the creator of all for what they did here. So, and that lets you know they weren't really gods. They knew themselves that they weren't the creator of the universe, but that they masqueraded as gods on this planet.
Just like we did when different versions of human civilization would find primitive tribes, like the cargo tribe,
cults.
the cargo cult that you talked about in your documentary.
Yeah.
That is so fascinating.
Yeah.
That during World War II, planes landed on these remote places,
Yeah.
and these people built mock planes to show like what the thing was that
Right.
came to visit them that they thought were like gods.
Wild.
Do you
Yeah.
think that if the Anunnaki are real and if Nibiru really exists and there's another planet with highly intelligent beings that are far more advanced than us, if that's the case, do you think there's more advanced and more advanced and more, just like we are to chimpanzees, they are to us,
Yeah.
and then another race is to them, and then it just keeps going on and on forever until you're God?
Absolutely. I believe there's levels to the game. Just like there's levels in terms of how we live on this planet.
Yeah.
You know, we have the first world, second world, third world, just here on Earth. Now magnify that as a fractal, as a universe as a whole. You have civilizations that are 1 million, 2 million, maybe even 1 billion years ahead. And every universe every civilization progressing within the universe at a specific rate. So you can have beings that have already maybe even shed their corporeal bodies and only exist as beings of energetic light. And then you have everything all the way back down towards us. In the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, he actually says that he has achieved the ability to incarnate at will on and in the plane he desires. He claims to be able to incarnate whenever he wants and even into other dimensions, which is wild.
That's next level.
Yeah, that's next
But
level.
it does make sense that if we're capable of doing what we're doing, we were talking about your phone, the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra with zooms and all this different shit. That's magic
Yeah.
to someone just 200 years ago. And if it keeps going and you keep like playing this out as far as possible, it kind of makes sense that there would be levels to the kind of intelligent life that exists in the universe beyond our comprehension.
Yeah.
Have you talked to Terrence Howard? Do you know his theory about how planets are created? That it's just things ejecting from the sun over billions and billions of years, and that there's a Goldilocks zone where you can create life.
Right.
And that's where the people are.
Yeah.
And then as this Goldilocks zone gets, you have to be super technologically proficient
Right.
in order to control your environment to the extent that you no longer require the sun in order to keep you alive. that kind of makes sense if
Yeah.
Nibiru's out there past Pluto.
Oh, it makes a lot of sense.
It
And
makes
shout
sense
out
that
to Terrence Howard, because I just talked to him a couple hours ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, so I used to, we were talking about
That
wave
dude
conjugations and everything.
Fucked me up for like 3 days. I left this podcast for 3 days. I was like, God damn. First of all, how the fuck is he so smart? Like, how would you ever imagine that a dude who's an actor on a television show or,
Right.
or in a movie is that smart?
Right,
Like,
right.
like freaky smart.
Right.
But his theory about the creation of planets, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Oh, it makes a lot
we
of sense.
watch stuff fly off the sun all the time, and if this matter over time
Yeah.
would coalesce and become a planet.
Yeah, it creates an accretion disk, and everything in space creates accretion disks. So once that
What
matter,
is that word? Accretion disk?
accretion, yeah,
What
an
does that
accretion
mean?
disk. So once you have a certain amount of mass in space, it instantaneously, on its own, wants to create this circular, like the shape of our Milky Way galaxy, wants to start circling and swerving around itself. And then as it does that, it begins to create friction. As that friction increases, the matter begins to collapse in towards each other, all right, based on its own energy, and then it then forms a ball. And that then builds and attracts more mass until it builds into a moon or a planet or whatever. You know.
What do you do when you encounter flat Earth people?
Oh man, I just try to be quiet. I just tell them, look, it's not my thing. You know, I remember Flat Earth Society offered me money years and years ago, yeah, and I was like, no, I don't believe the Earth is flat. I'm not getting involved with this. And they really attacked me hard, death threats and everything else.
They get very upset.
Yeah.
I do not understand. I just think it's people
That's
committing to
insane.
an idea.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
Well, it's a religion now. They turned it into a religion. Anytime that people can attack you so brutally over that, I mean, I'm on live talking about quantum physics, and they're in the chat. The Earth is flat. The Earth is. I mean, so that's like, I mean, the one guy.
Fascinated by it because
It's interesting.
Yeah.
To be honest, to believe that the world is flat and make people believe that way is in a way stunting. It's like it's suppressing people creativity and idea of expanding and thinking outwardly, you know what I'm saying, of what is out there. You know what I'm saying? It keeps you here in a way where it kind of suppresses you. It suppresses your creativity. It suppresses your way of thinking, and it kind of molds you into this zombie slave. I believe that, if I'm being honest, look, the world is flat, which I highly doubt it, right? But if the world is flat, whatever. But if the world, which I believe is not flat, then the people that really believe the world is flat are evil human beings, bro. If I'm being honest, bro, like what the fuck are you doing? Like, what the fuck are you thinking? Like, why are you pushing this agenda? Like, what is your purpose? Like, what is your intent behind doing this, like, act of evil? In my opinion, like, you're confusing so many people.
Yeah, because it's the ultimate conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
And even each religion, right? I don't want to get too far into it, right? Where there are people that praise certain characters in different timelines, right? But it's like, if you look at what each of those characters talk about, and I'm not gonna name any specific, they don't talk about praising them. They are here to show us how to praise the Almighty Creator. You know what I'm saying? The creator of the universe, the creator of everything, life in general, and who we are. Like, so for you to just stick to praising this one person or this one to like praise this one character that existed, you know what I'm saying, that preached about certain things, you know what I'm saying, to me it's insane. That is in somewhat like blasphemy, you know what I'm saying, because they didn't come here to receive all the praise. They came here to show us how to praise, how to honor our creator, and how to be united in honoring our creator and be better than what, you know what I'm saying, than what we're trying to be, like, and so destructive and against each other as human beings. Like, I believe in, I could believe in every single individual that has come into like somewhat of some type of religion and da 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 da. Da. But it doesn't mean I'm praising solely them. I'm praising the idea of what they brought in the sense of like they all preach unity and peace and love and you know what I'm saying, all of this, that. I praise that. But I also hear the message, right? Whoever has ears, listen. You know what I'm saying? Whoever has eyes, see the truth that is being brought to you. There's a lot of people that play dumb or play oblivious to the truth, bro. Like it's there. It's literally there. It's already been told to you what must be done, but people want to be extra, if I'm being honest. Like, or take things a little bit too literal, and there's a lot of literal people in the world. You can't even say a joke without them, you know what I'm saying? Like I have my moments of, you know, where I'm even literal at times. Like I take things literally and then I hear a joke or like they're messing around like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. Da 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 da. So I'm not trying to be a hypocrite, but it's just there's so many things out there that definitely confuses people and where they need to put their proper path. And I think it's evil. I think there's some type of evil behind the confusion that is going on in the world and trying to keep you where you're at so that you don't get smarter or grow or be better or be stronger or creative. They want to keep you dumb. They want to keep you slaved. I even learned about how the education system was founded, like in a way. It was originally founded to attack the children and make children's slave and operate under a rule of like slavemanship, like, you know, just to be follow rules and do what you're told and be a slave at work or whatever it is, that, and the third. If not, you're a failure. Like they don't want to create a society or a world of thinkers and innovators. They want a society of slaves, and I refuse to give in to that idea. I think it's wrong. I think it's evil, if I'm being honest. So that's just my take, anyways.
The ultimate conspiracy theory is that we are all on a set and that the Earth is flat. It's a disc. There's a wall. The government's aware of it. They won't let you pass a certain distance. Yeah, there's ice walls.
Yeah.
And that space is just lights in the sky.
Right. That's it. And the sun is a bulb. And all this kind of stuff. It's wild.
And it's attached to a version of Christianity, which is very interesting.
It is. It's tied into Christianity. The 6,000-year-old theme. The Earth is only 6,000 years old. The reason why people think the Earth is 6,000 years old is because most of the tablets are 6,000 years old, and the Bible was written from the information that came from tablets. So that's as far back as anybody's quote-unquote knowledge seems to extend. That's where the 6,000-year-old theory comes from. But they've taken that thing and turned it into a religion. I remember one guy DM'd me, and he was going off and telling me he was going to shoot me in the head and all this stuff. And I said, let me ask you a question. If there's no atmosphere, then what are you breathing right now? He goes, what do you mean? Well, I'm breathing oxygen. I said, well, that's a gas. Gas doesn't exist. I said, well, then you should be dead then, because you're breathing a gas. And what else are you inhaling when you breathe? He goes, oxygen. I said, well, no, you're breathing in, helium, krypton,
mostly nitrogen.
Nitrogen. I said, you're breathing in all these other gases. Oxygen is only around 21% of that. Otherwise, you'd be dead. So he couldn't tell. I said, did you graduate from high school? He said, no. I said, I stopped talking. So that's when I realized, don't waste your energy on these people.
Well, there's a lot of dudes, unfortunately, who just get on YouTube and they listen to very charismatic people talk that don't know what they're talking about, which I do all the time. But they do it in a way where they pretend they know something is true that's not true.
Yeah. That's real of him to say, though, because
I just don't understand
it's a real thing.
You would think that Earth is the only one out of all these things that we've observed that's flat.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. And I think, this is respectfully to all these people that believe that, I think it's a giant waste of time.
It is.
I think concentrating on the shape of the Earth, even if it was,
It's a distraction, bro.
who fucking cares?
nothing.
Look at what's going on out there. It would be kind of crazy if it was flat. That would kind of like bolster the idea that we're the shit,
Right.
and that we're just so much more powerful and advanced and special than everything else in the universe because we're the only ones that exist on a flat plane.
Right.
But the whole thing is just so insane.
Yeah.
Just what we know about the physical universe itself and
Well,
about
yeah.
atoms and just what we know about all the matter that exists in our lives is
Right.
insane.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, obviously, they haven't tapped into even forget quantum. Standard physics. They don't comprehend it, and so because of that, they're lost. I mean, satellites don't exist obviously to them. So
But that's a kooky one.
I remember
The
Hurricane
satellites
Maria.
don't exist as a kooky one.
It's-
Like, bro, you can watch them.
I mean, it's crazy. Hurricane Maria comes and destroys the Caribbean, and I unfortunately had some loved ones that were involved in that. And I posted a picture of the hurricane because I was raising money for hurricane supplies, and they were commenting and attacking. That's a fake image. It doesn't exist. I'm like,
Let me ask you this: how much of that is bullshit? Like, how much of that is government, either entities from other foreign governments, where they jump into these subjects to
Oh, yeah.
make people seem really stupid?
Yeah.
And when people say something really stupid, if they have one of the things they like to do is put a foreign flag, like an American flag rather, in
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
their little
yeah.
their
They
profile.
always have that. Yeah.
And they're just saying the dumbest shit.
Yeah,
And I'm going, I don't know if this is a real person. I think it's not. I think it's one of those things that's designed to muddy up any discourse about anything.
Yeah, it's a psyop. I'm telling you, I told people a long time ago this whole flat Earth thing was a CIA psyop.
I think it was.
Drop it in there
If it
and
wasn't a
see what
CIA
happens.
psyop, it was someone
Yeah.
from 4chan who just wanted to be silly.
Yeah.
And went so hard with explanations that a lot of gullible people without science degrees like me, they went along with it. And it's just one of those things where it's just, man, what a giant waste of time.
It is. It's a waste of energy. And there's so much more we can learn, like these ancient texts. And people say, why are you always focused on the ancient past? Well, because the past is prologue. If we don't understand what happened back then, we're doomed to continue to repeat these cycles of time that we've been in for quite some time, for eons.
Yeah, I mean, it's
You know?
just direct evidence that civilizations don't last when they go kooky.
Yes.
And that things go sideways and there's natural disasters and wars that reshape landscapes. Like, look, it's all there and it's happening right now.
Yep.
And if we're not aware of it, it'll happen to us. And then we'll be a footnote of history. We'll be one of those things. There was this amazing country called America. They got crazy. They created all this art and culture and they did amazing things. But they went fucking sideways.
Yep.
They sold out the money. They got involved in wars. And then the next thing you know, the world is operating essentially like communist China. The whole world.
Yeah.
But that's possible too, kids. All right, you gotta fight for this because
Yeah.
whatever this thing is that we have, this is like super fucking unique. But if you don't want to look at the past, if you're not fascinated by ancient structures, if you're not fascinated by what kind of technology and knowledge that they have
Yeah.
4,500 plus years ago to make pyramids,
Right.
who are these people?
Exactly.
What were they doing?
Yeah.
How did they do that? And what was that thing? Was that a power plant?
Right.
I mean, I know you know that.
Oh, yeah.
Theory. That is
Absolutely.
a
Yeah.
crazy theory that
Yeah.
it sounds completely wackadoo. But then when you have it laid out to you, Christopher, what's his last name?
Done. I
Christopher
just had
Dunn.
him on my podcast.
I just had him a couple weeks ago too.
Yeah.
I just had a brain fart. His depiction of the mechanisms that would be involved in turning this giant structure into some sort of a power plant. You hear about it, you go, wait a minute, whoa.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And him and I have very similar theories on how the power generation occurred. And I believe that the Nile, it used to run up close to the pyramids, and the water would run underneath the pyramid, and that would create something called physiostatic electricity as it ran underneath that magnetized crystal granite. Those ions would pour up into the chamber, move up the Grand Gallery where there used to be resonating rods, where you can see the slots where the rods used to be. They're removed now, but the slots are still there. Then it would be pushed into the king's chamber where it would be amplified and some type of fusion would take place, then forced up through the apex, and then the crystal granite obelisks around the region would capture that ambient wireless electricity. And then if you had something called a jet, which looks like a Tesla coil, you can capture that energy and you can transfer it into a device for gold electroplating, for any other electrical tools you need, like some of the tools they had to have used to create some of these incredible works of art. We can see the tool marks, so we know they had the tools. But they had wireless electricity way back then.
That's insane. If that's true, that's insane.
Yeah.
Because you would think there would be some kind of physical evidence of a device, like something left over, some sort of a, ancient chainsaw,
Right.
like something.
Yeah, they did a great job cleaning up. I mean, they poured sand over Giza to bury another couple hundred pyramids there at Giza.
Do you think they poured sand? Do you think that's just natural erosion over time? Because when Giza, when the pyramids existed, it was a very different place, right? Like if you go back before the pyramids, like 9,000 years ago, it was a lush rainforest, right?
Yeah.
And then over time, it became
It's like they
sand.
try to hide history, if that's true.
And the same with the entire Sahara Desert, which is really crazy. We just were talking about the other day. They find whale bones
Yeah.
in the Sahara Desert.
Yeah. I'm
Just
going to the Valley of the Whales in a few weeks in Egypt. Actually, it's incredible that there's whale bones out there also. So we're going out there to the Valley of the Whales.
Whale bones.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But so the point being that this place has changed radically, like absolutely radically over time.
Yeah.
So who knows do you know why those things were covered up? Is it possible that it was just sand over time?
Well, if you look at the tablets again, they talk about this war, right? And this war that occurred, there's a lot of wars, obviously, but this one particular war, it seems like the same one that damaged the area or the region of the Giza Plateau, also Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley up there by Pakistan. And the reason why it's interesting is if you look at the war in the text and then go to those areas, it looks now almost you can begin to see, oh, wait a minute, it looks like war. Mohenjo-Daro, Indus Valley, the buildings turned to glass. The sand turned to glass, and the bodies are still laying in the street right now today, holding hands, never been scavenged by animals. So
Wait a minute, where is this?
Mohenjo-Daro.
Are there photos that we can look at?
Oh, yeah, look it up. Mohenjo-Daro, Indus Valley, dead bodies still laying in the street thousands of years later. And
Nobody
guess what?
they just lay there? No one's
Lay
covered
there.
them up?
Nobody's covered them up. Yeah, when you put a
What?
Geiger counter over them, higher than background level radiation. Okay?
Really?
Yeah. And if
But
you-
aren't stones higher than background level radiation?
some stones are, especially like diorite and crystal granite. But these bodies, these are just bones. How come they're higher than background level
I
radiation?
can't wait to see this.
Yeah.
Why haven't I ever heard of this?
Mohenjo-Daro, Mohen. There you go.
Whoa.
Yeah. This is evidence of a nuclear war or nuclear
Go
type
back
of
to
a
the
war.
other, that one there. That one's insane.
Yeah. There's bodies that are sitting on the edge of steps next to their own buildings that they lived in. The building is turned to glass. That's 3,000 plus degree temperature weapons fire.
So there's a bunch of people that seem to die all at once, just scattered around.
Yeah.
Now, what's the conventional explanation for how these people died?
They have no idea. They have zero idea. The only thing that you
That
It's
was
what
just
they tell you.
coupled, Jamie, go to the other, just the Mohenjo-Daro mythical massacre.
Yeah.
So did they think it's a massacre? Is there any?
at
Yeah, what
that
if the guy's
body.
just laying
Just
there?
laying there. And that building, those stones are vitrified, which means 3,000 plus degree temperature.
Oh shit!
What kind of, what could have caused that level of temperature, energetic release?
Well, it could have been a low atmosphere asteroid,
It could have been.
I mean,
Could have been.
just like-
that's possible.
Tunguska.
Yeah, it could have been a lot, but then their bones would have been splattered apart and broken up into pieces.
Good call. Yeah, that's good call. Yeah, because they don't
Because-
seem to be broken apart.
No, they're not broken apart.
Right.
That impact would have shattered the bones and spread them out over a great
Right,
distance.
but without impact, even if you just look at the one that burst in the atmosphere in Tunguska, it just flattened trees.
Flattened everything.
For,
all the
I
trees.
think it's some insane, like a million acres or something crazy.
Yeah, it's incredible. So
How
those
big was
bodies
the
would have been there.
Tunguska explosion? That one's, yeah, so those bodies would be toast
They'd be
because the
toast.
trees were
Yeah.
ripped apart.
The buildings would have been flattened.
The legs would have flown off.
Right.
There's no way they would just be laying there like that. That's
Exactly.
interesting. And they don't seem to be like chopped up.
No.
Did they have any evidence of stab wounds or anything on them?
They don't have any evidence of any injury, of any kind of attack, or any cutting, or like swords or anything.
They just all got cooked.
Right. And then in the tablets it says that the evil wind moved over the land after they released these weapons. And then Enki goes to his father. Enki goes to his father Anu and says, "Hey, can you stop the evil wind?" Because he had fallen in love with some people, and down there. And he's like, "There's nothing I can do." He said, "Get in your sky ship and forebode." That means get the hell out of here. And he said the people's hair was falling out, their eyes were bleeding, their nose were bleeding, their fingernails were curling off. That sounds like radiation sickness.
So you think it's radiation sickness that did this to all these people, or was it an impact that did this to all these people?
Nobody knows.
Nobody
but,
knows. But they're not blown apart.
Right, they're
Well,
not
that's the
blown
thing.
apart. It seems like whatever struck or whatever energetic weapon it was, if it Could have been might not have been a weapon. Whatever it was, it seems like that shock wave reached them at some point, and whatever was in that wave,
just killed everybody.
that's what it did.
And they just don't know what it is. So how does a conventional archaeologist describe it? Do they just say it's a massacre?
They just call it a mythical massacre, and they stay away from it. When you look in the other texts, the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita, you find out about these wars also. They're recorded. They have weapons called the Brahmastra and the Brahmahanda weapon, and these weapons, what they describe them as doing, duplicate what you saw there.
How do they describe them?
They describe them as weapons that once released can't be revolted or can't be turned back, and that they will obliterate any area, any city. And they say that one of the weapons can destroy any man on 3 worlds. It's crazy stuff. And this is where Oppenheimer got his famous quote when he obviously tested the nuke, right? Now I have become death, destroyer of worlds. He got that from the Mahabharata.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great quote.
Yeah.
To say after you detonate the first nuclear bomb.
Oh man, crazy.
What a great quote.
Yeah.
So the idea is that there were beings that were having wars on this planet. Were they? Do you believe they were having wars with people that were revolting, or were they having wars with other beings?
They were fighting with each other, and evidence of these wars can be found in the book of Deuteronomy in the modern day Bible. These gods, and I do mean gods with an S, because everywhere in the Bible where it says God singular, it's actually a mistranslation. The actual, if you backwards look up the translation in Arabic and then down to Aramaic and everything else, you find out it's gods plural. They were fighting each other over resources and people and control of the planet. And so that's why in the book of Deuteronomy, God tells people, go to this city, and it's like a far city where they don't even know that these people exist. They go over there to kill them. He says, kill the women, kill the children, and bring the spoils of war back to me. And you see these wars in the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, the Sumerian tablets. And these wars are just nonstop, the Indian Vedas. And it's always about attacking another city, and they even talk about Trojan horse methods to get behind the gates and then to utilize that to attack and kill and bring back these spoils, which is pretty crazy stuff. It's like they were attacking each other. They had gone awry. They had gone rogue out here on this planet and then began to fight over people and populations and resources.
And we would hope that we would get past that. But there's no evidence that we have so far. So, why would we think that as AI gets implemented and technology escalates and all we're going to be able to do in the future in terms of being able to go visit other planets and duke it out on other planets?
Right.
Like, there was a whole story today about China just landed on the far side of the moon. So they landed a probe over there.
Yeah, they did.
This is, the China-America war on the moon.
Right.
What if America claims a spot and China lands and plants a flag there and they're like, hey, fuck you, that's ours?
Now that's what's going to happen.
Especially if there's something on the moon they can mine that's very valuable.
Oh, this stuff up there. I researched the Clementine mission years ago. NASA and United States military sent
Pretty sure there's everything up there, to be honest.
Secret mission called Clementine. It was a low lunar orbiting satellite to go to the dark side of the moon. And when I saw the name Clementine, I knew right away this thing is coming back. And as I began to dig deeper into the declassified documents, of course, it never came back. Oh my darling Clementine, you were lost and gone forever.
Wow.
And I was right. And sure enough, it hit something on the dark side of the moon, which is really just the back side. It's not really dark there, but it hit something, but it sent back about 20 gigs of data. And these images are available to the general public. They've been declassified. And there are strange anomalies on those images. This is pre-Photoshop, pre-everything. Things that shouldn't be there that look like broken structures and junk and things that just seem to be laying around. So I think it was a reconnaissance mission to gather intel and data, which is probably why China's gone to that far side of the moon as well, because they're probably going to. It's a race to see who can capture ancient technology and then reverse engineer it and then weaponize it.
Well, that's the most fun theory ever. The most fun theory ever is that there's bases on the moon and the dark side of the moon that aliens have abandoned.
Yeah.
Jamie, are there any photos of these anomalies? That's the most fun.
I can provide you some with links to the sources too.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. But Jamie will probably find something.
Cool.
So what do these structures look like to you when you look at them?
There's dome structures there.
Dome?
There's domes. As a matter of fact, one of the astronauts, I think it was Neil Armstrong, if you get the declassified from the Freedom of Information Act documents that are the black box audio and the black box redacted text statement from NASA, which is available to the general public. Neil says, look at those convex structures down there. I bet the people in there never get out. And he's talking about dome structures on the moon. And this is an exact statement that was made that's in the black box audio, which I can provide you to the link to that as well.
Okay, so where are these structures? Do you see any of these that you find
You need to
compelling?
look for anomalies on the back side of the moon. We utilize a lot of these on our Facebook groups. On Facebook, we have these groups, anomaly hunting groups. We formed the United Family of Anomaly Hunters, and we've cataloged about 60,000 anomalies now. A lot of them are on the dark side of the moon. But tell you, type in Clementine moon photos anomaly. You may be able to find some. If not, I'll send you the link to some resources where you can look them up, and you can take a look at some of these crazy objects that are there.
So is that one right there in the upper right-hand corner?
Yeah, that one's there. Some structure. Those kind of look like two pyramids on to the left of it. And then another structure which almost seems like it has geometry. Now, underneath that, you see the blur? That looks like obfuscation. Directly, if you go back
Which
up
one?
to that top right.
Top right?
Yeah, top right, B. Okay, you see that where his hand is? Now move to the left, going down slowly. See that? See that? Go back up again. See that? Oh, where his hand is over right now? It looks like obfuscation. Sometimes you can take these images and put them into a Photoshop and take away the contrast, and all of a sudden structures pop right out. But right above that, you see those shadows of those pyramid structures?
Right above that.
Yeah, you see those pyramids? You can see this dark shadow.
I see two lines.
Okay.
Well, I see the arrow that's pointing to that one straight line, and then I see what looks like two superimposed arrows.
Okay, do you see?
Yeah, those things.
Okay, yeah.
Those are superimposed, right? Like,
No, those are shadows.
but look, those are the same things that are in the bottom. Aren't they just pointing at something? Aren't those pointers?
I think they may be highlighting something.
Right, I think it's a cursor mark or something. So what they're saying, I see what they're pointing to. They're pointing to that thing in the upper right-hand
You
corner
see
that
it
kind of
there?
looks like a pyramid.
Yeah, you see that? You see that right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a pyramid.
It's cleaned up a little bit there in C. C is more clean, but those things don't look like they belong there.
Well, it's hard to tell.
It's hard to. Now we have really. That pyramid right there is very famous. That's a very
Where's that
old image. That's on the moon. There should be a link to that. There's a lot of that. That particular one's been around for years and years and years. It's kind of hard to think that was formed by natural. Now, and what happens is, we're not saying we know exactly what these things are. We're just saying that we feel like they don't belong there.
Jamie, go back to that image that you were just looking at, the thing that was a pyramid. That one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, get that one big. That one's crazy.
Yeah.
That one's very strange looking. Because the way it points at the top and has flat sides, like,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, that's
Right.
if that's real, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But it,
How tall that is?
that's a good question.
There's a measuring tool. We don't have it, obviously, access to it right here.
Seems so
But
flat on it.
there is a measuring. So you can see the shadow, which gives you an idea of the height.
I'd like to see it in real life, though. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes things fuck with you. It's just, but the angle is so unnatural looking.
Yeah, it definitely really looks unnatural. We just try to catalog things that appear to be anomalies, things that appear to be out of place.
Right. It could be anything.
And in the Sumerian tablets, there's this time where Enlil takes his son to the moon, and he says, "Well, grab your eagle's mask because you're going to need it." They were referencing that the atmosphere was harsh. So when you see the Anunnaki with the eagle's head, that's actually their helmet. It's a helmet.
So they could breathe our air.
Exactly. They talk about it twice. Once to go to the moon, and the second time to go to Mars.
Yeah, and there's been other depictions of ancient gods and people that look like they're wearing some kind of mask, too.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, one of the cooler ones is the bubble space head looking guys in the cave.
Yes.
And you're like, what did you guys see?
Right.
Like, what did you guys see in the middle of, like, hunting gazelles, trying to stay alive, trying to make a fire, and
Yeah.
then you decided to draw that thing?
Right.
What is that?
And we know they can draw because they can show you what a gazelle is. They can show you what
Yes.
cattle is. They can show you what a person looks like.
Yes.
But then they draw that, and you have to think, well, why?
Right, why is that the only thing you drew that's fake?
Right. Exactly. They just
it
have
looks
time
like-
to waste.
And it looks like a dude in a suit with
Yeah.
with a helmet on. Like,
Right.
And here's the question: how many different things are visiting us?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and from how many different places?
If I'm being honest, what it sounds like to me is that we've already discovered all of this. These things that are visiting us are just us. If I'm being honest, right, this is my theory. Like, if we've been around for so long and we're just in such a secluded part of society that we're just made to believe that we haven't gotten that far in advancements yet. You know what I'm saying? We're the workers here. We're the slaves here, I guess, in a way. I really truly like in a part of me, right? Because look at me and maybe think, oh man, this guy's crazy. But I really do feel like we've already discovered all of this. Like all of this is way too advanced. This has been already, if this is all true, this has been already been discovered from mad long ago. And like we have the technology already. We have all of these things. We're just there's like a veil that has been casted upon society after they discovered all of this, and you know what I'm saying, making people believe that we don't have all of these things and da 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 da. Just gonna keep repeating myself, but I truly do believe like some of these some of the things that are visiting us is what is already, like it's what has already been here, and we already have technology to like, and we're just making people believe otherwise. Media, hello, media is the evilest thing out here, right? We all have conspiracy against media. We all see how media fucking you know what I'm saying, makes things bigger than what it is. I forget, there's a word for it, which is not coming to mind right now. May blur it out later on if it comes to it. But yeah, they plagiarize, I think is what it's called. I don't know what it's called. But anyways, I truly do feel like part of the things that are visiting us and things that we're using and working on is all a scam, bro. Like we already have all of this technology, bro. Like we're just using the toys of what they allow us to use. I don't know.
If we can't just think everything.
I was born literally like 29 years ago, and I was brought into this world full of trauma and bullshit. Like, what the fuck do I know? If they want to keep a veil over my life and over everyone else's life and control and have been around for a long time and want to control what people view, what is stopping them? Is my point.
Things going to look exactly the same. That seems just as silly as thinking that all of our animals should look exactly the same.
Correct. I think we have 3 different levels of visitation going on simultaneously. One is corporeal beings in a physical body, most likely anatomically similar to us, you know, a bilateral bipedal organism with 2 forward-facing eyes, maybe
Do you
1
think
or 2 sets
it's
of hands.
what we eventually become?
It's
that what they are?
It's possible that maybe we already are them. Just you know, Earth could be an abandoned sea colony. We every culture that I've talked to indigenously around the planet all say they were seeded on this planet by Pleiadians or other beings, star brothers in various different places. So
like the
it's pretty
Dogons.
interesting. Like the Dogons, the Nomo, the Hopi and the Lakota tribe, the Star Brothers. The Aboriginal elders say that they were seeded here by Pleiadians. All of a sudden, why is everybody having the same story that we were brought here? We could be genetically, I don't believe we're even from Earth, to be quite honest with you. Our cycadic rhythm doesn't even match Earth's rotation on its axis. We're slightly off. It's actually better tuned to Mars' orbit on its rotation on its own axis than
What do you mean?
Earth.
How's that work?
The circadic rhythm of a human body, the wake and sleep cycle, is actually more tuned to Mars' rotation on its own axis. A Mars day versus an Earth day, which is pretty weird that we aren't synced to our own planet after all these thousands,
Is
maybe
that the
hundreds
same
of
as our
thousands of years. Circadian rhythm, right?
So how do they calculate it's more tuned to Mars? Like, how does that work?
Well, it's just they geneticists and scientists discovered that our perfect wake and sleep cycle is more tuned to Mars' rotation on its axis, which is about 23 and something minute hours, and versus Earth being 24 hours. And so they said, wow, this is incredible. And the more they tested it and the more they studied it, they realized we're more tuned to the Mars than we are to Earth, which is pretty strange.
Well, we are weird. We accept shit like leap year.
Right.
Like, what kind of whack calendar do you have where
They just make up stuff.
if some years the month is longer, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
I know. For
make
what?
a better calendar. Isn't there a better calendar?
Yeah.
Shouldn't there be like a digital calendar that represents exactly what's going on and not go January? Come on, get the fuck out of here.
I know
It's
it's
so
pretty,
dumb.
pretty bizarre. But you know what's interesting? If you want to say, oh, human beings could be aliens, well, actually, every person on this planet is an alien. Even our planet itself is an alien. Scientists just discovered something interesting. I've never talked about this yet on the podcast, and you guys can look this up. So, our Milky Way galaxy is pretty interesting because it's absorbing another galaxy at this exact moment called the Sagittarius Dwarf Galaxy. Not the Sagittarius constellation, that's something totally different. We are absorbing the Sagittarius Dwarf Galaxy at this exact moment. People thought for all these decades, looking, or even hundreds of years, looking up in the night sky, seeing that swath of stars going across, that's the Milky Way. Guess what? We've been wrong the whole time. This is now being taught in universities in astrophysics. So what we're looking at, you're looking at the absorption or the merging of the Sagittarius with the Milky Way galaxy. And the exact point where it merges and drops into the Milky Way is right where our solar system is located, which would explain the rogue planets that we know that are out there. There's millions of rogue planets that have no sun, that are just floating free around. There's planets in solar systems that are orbiting far beyond the orbit of Pluto in our inner Oort cloud, admitted by astronomers now, that there's other solar systems within this inner Oort cloud area orbiting our sun every 4,200 years. So all of a sudden, that's Corey Powell, the astronomer at Discovery magazine, by the way, who said that. So this is pretty interesting. We're talking about the fact that our solar system itself is an implant into the Milky Way, that we come from Sagittarius. We're not even part of the Milky Way galaxy.
Whoa. Okay. So
He's
when
like, whoa, you
they're
just hit me with so
looking at
much.
Our own solar system. They have an understanding that there's a thing called the Kuiper Belt. It's out there, and there's so many objects in there that are small,
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons why they decided to declassify Pluto as a planet, because there's other objects real similar in
Yeah,
size.
Maki and all those other planets.
But they think there's something large out there. They think there's something large out there that they haven't yet identified because of the way that gravity is responding. Like, what is the reason for it?
Well, what happens is they discovered that in some way, millions of years ago, something moved through our solar system and captured its own weird orbit around our sun. And what's crazy is the evidence is in our solar system. So Saturn and Neptune switched locations because of a gravitational field. Uranus is flipped on its side and orbits its equator is orbiting north and south, not east and west. And they know that
Like it got hit.
like it got hit, or something gravitationally just tugged at it so hard that it flipped sideways.
It never stops. spinning.
Never stopped. And it moved through our solar system way out beyond the orbit of Pluto, and this thing captured its own orbit. This is in the Enuma Elish and the Seven Tablets of Creation. This exact process that's been described now by astrophysicists and astronomers is in ancient text that we
Right,
can read.
that
and you
has
can
been
see, oh my
already
God, this is exactly
around-
what
has
this
been
text is saying.
around
It's
for
talking about
many
the creation
years
of our solar
already.
system. It even talks about the creation of Earth in that text. So it says that when Marduk, aka Nibiru, a moon of Nibiru, crashed into Tiamat, it broke into pieces and became the hammered bracelet. That's the asteroid belt. One giant chunk swung away, recoalesced with everything, water, land, and organic material needed for life, and became the Earth, tugging with it the moon. So it's pretty crazy that the creation of this planet itself, and it says that it pushed, the net force pushed Mercury closer to the sun and pushed Venus closer to the sun, and then we took the third spot in place around our orbit around our sun. And then, of course, we have Mars, which used to be a moon, a habitable moon of Tiamat, a planet that was 4 to 6 times larger than Earth, and it slung into this crazy orbit. That's why Mars has this weird orbit, and you have to rendezvous with it if you're NASA or anybody trying to rendezvous with Mars every 2 years, doing this in apogee or perigee. You have to, with apogee or perigee, one of them is further away than the other. One is 80 million miles, and the other one's closer. So if you rendezvous every 2 years, you can capture the orbit of Mars, and you can actually get there in 4 months. And then they looked at it and said, wow, they meaning astrophysicists, this looks like this Mars wasn't originally in this type of orbit. It must have been orbiting something else in our solar system, which it was. One side is charred black and the other side is smooth. So the side where Tiamat exploded, those chunks hit Mars on one side, created a very charged side, and the other side is the smoothest surface in the solar system, which is because of the global flood that created. And then Mars's axis on its equator is tilted 45 degrees on its axis, which means the mass shifted it down 45 degrees. They had a major global catastrophe there on Mars. And then after Mars, you have another little planet that survived called Ceres, Ceres, which is also a result of this Tiamat exploding. People don't even talk about Ceres. It has the most fresh water of any other planet in our solar system. More
And
fresh water.
where's its location?
That's the next planet after Mars, Ceres.
Really?
Ceres.
How big is it? Is it like Pluto-sized?
It's about maybe 2/3 smaller than Mars. And guess
It's a
what?
dwarf planet, so they don't. It follows an orbit between
Yeah.
Mars and Jupiter near the
right.
middle of the asteroid belt with an orbital period. Click on that, Jamie.
When they flew by it,
You
about
heard about this before? I didn't know there was another planet out there.
listen, when they flew by it a few years ago, the lights were on. They sent a probe out there.
What?
The lights were on. And so they tried to say it was ice particles glistening in the sunlight. So when they got to the dark side, guess what? The lights were on the dark side. So they couldn't use the ice particle explanation anymore. So they just said, we don't know what it is.
What? Ceres' small size means that even at its brightest, it's too dim to be seen by the naked eye, except under extremely dark skies. Its apparent magnitude ranges from 6.7 to 9.3, peaking in opposition when it's closest to Earth. Once every 15 to 16 months, in how do you say that word? Synodic?
I don't know where you're at now.
16th month synodic period. Do you know? how to
Oh,
say
yeah, Synodic.
that?
Yeah.
Synodic period. As a result,
Synodic.
Synodic. As a result, its surface features are barely visible even with the most powerful telescopes, and little was known about it
Synodic?
until the robotic NASA spacecraft Dawn approached Ceres for its orbital mission in 2015.
And we have high-resolution images of the surface. There are strange things there as well, which is pretty crazy. So
What are the images of the surface?
you have to go to nasa.gov and go to the Dawn images, and you can download, or sometimes the European Space Agency has them as well, ES. And then you can grab those images. It's pretty crazy. Some things just don't look right there, but there's a lot.
What doesn't look right?
Well, if you look at Mohenjo-daro or areas of Egypt, that's or even Iraq, where it used to be Samaria, structures that used to be there that are now worn down and weathered. They have similar looks there, similar things that they look similar there. Not saying that they are. I'm just saying that they look strange. Some things look
We have
strange.
a lot of strange things on Earth that
Yeah.
aren't natural.
That's true. We sure do.
That's-
We even have octagons and straight lines on Earth that are natural as well.
That was one of the
Yeah.
craziest ones that Terrence brought up, was the octagon on Saturn.
Yeah.
Was it Saturn?
It's Saturn.
Yeah, Saturn.
Saturn.
That when you look at the octagon on Saturn, that it's mimicked in the model that they've
Right.
created by
Yeah.
using the whole idea that he really blew my mind with was the Goldilocks zone idea. That planets reach a certain distance from the sun, and that's when life starts happening. And this is a normal force that happens everywhere in the universe. And as time goes on, that planet's going to get further and further from the sun,
Yep.
and then it's going to lose its ability to do that, and then a new planet will move into the Goldilocks zone. And that is also going to become like us. And then, so if you are following this idea makes sense. It means that this is just this sort of natural process that these intelligent creatures go through. And even though we're looking at like AI and we're looking at technology, it's like, oh my God, we can't even be people anymore. Well, guess what? We can't be people anymore,
Right.
because we're not going to make it if we
Right.
don't.
Yeah.
There's a timeline. It seems like you're only going to live 100 years, so it's no big deal. But humans, if we keep going like a few million years, we're going to have a real problem. A billion years from now, we're not going to be around anymore.
No.
And then there's going to come a time where the sun doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly.
So if you get so intelligent that you can escape the boundaries of the physical world, and you can move throughout the cosmos wherever you want, then you've escaped.
Right.
You've escaped this fear. But it's almost like there's an intelligence test.
Yeah.
An intelligence test that life goes through. Like, we're going to give you all the tools, just like you're in the womb. You're in the womb of Mother Earth. We want to give you all the tools, but you got to get out of the house.
Yeah.
At a certain point in time, you got to get
Yeah.
out of the house. You're 24, still living at home? Get the fuck out of the house.
They're waiting for us to grow up.
Yeah.
Because, human beings are like babies right now as a civilization, trying to learn how to walk. And right now we're barely crawling, and then we plop down on our stomach and everybody screams and cries. But we're getting to the point eventually where we'll go to the edge of a table and pull ourselves up. and then we'll take a couple of steps, and then we'll fall again. Everybody will think it's all over. Oh my God, we were doing so good, and it collapsed again. But no, that's just a fall. The baby will pull itself back up, it'll cry less, and it'll take more steps until it falls again, until it can get this controlled fall. And that's the definition of walking, controlling your fall. So we're in that process now. Like you said, this is a proving ground for us to be able to develop consciously, spiritually, ascend to higher levels. And eventually, I'm pretty optimistic for mankind that we will get through this period.
Well, that's a beautiful thing to hear. I love when people are optimistic, because I'm always I tend to be optimistic.
Well, it proves what these ancient beings were doing. They were creating breakaway civilizations throughout the entire Milky Way galaxy because of what you just said. The fact that, planets won't be habitable forever. Even Earth. Let's say Earth never moved and stayed right where it's at in the Goldilocks zone. We're going to lose our control over the weather because the moon is moving away at a few centimeters every single year. And as the moon backs off of Earth, our weather patterns are going to get more hectic and chaotic, and the wobble is going to be uncontrollable to the point where life won't be able to exist. Not our kind of life won't be able to exist on this planet. So just losing the moon alone in a few million years is going to destroy us. So we have to create breakaway civilizations. We have to get out of here, which is what all these other advanced civilizations in these ancient texts have done.
Well, it only makes sense if Terrence is correct about this idea of the Goldilocks zone. It only makes sense. And if there are other planets somewhere in another galaxy or ours that have the same exact sort of features, water, the same temperature, the same mixture of amino acids and whatever the hell else is here that makes life, and then it happens there too. It just makes sense that some places are going to be more stable, so they're going to have less natural disasters, so like people will evolve faster and longer, they'll exist longer. But then, there's the argument that the natural disasters are actually good, because the natural disasters knock us back down if we're about to destroy everything, knock us back down to some much more primitive version of ourselves, and then we have to rebuild society again over thousands of years, which to the universe is the blink of an eye.
That's a blink of an eye. You're right. That's exactly what happened in the Emerald Tablets. 36,000 years ago, Thoth he arrives in this place called the land of Kem, ancient Kemet, before it was known as Egypt. His father sent him on a mission to rebuild civilization back up to a high level, meaning that it already was at a high level prior to this flood situation. And he says he gets into the great ship of the master and he takes off into the sky until the earth disappears. And then he goes to the plane appointed and he sees beneath him the children of the land of Kem. And he descends down. He doesn't sail in, he descends down. And when the ship lands, he opens his doors and he comes out with his crew. And he says the barbarians came at him to attack him with bludgeons and spears. He says, I raised my staff and sent out a ray of vibrations, stopping him still as fragments of stone of the mountain. So he had a stun gun. He had a weapon that, not lethal, non-lethal weapon that can freeze you in your tracks. And we have something just like that now in the military called the active denial system. They can send a beam at a crowd coming to attack and make them stop still right in their tracks. They can make you feel like you're on fire, make you feel like you want to vomit. They can even put voices in your head. They can make you be in extreme pain. It's called the active denial system. So he's talking about technology back then that we have right now.
Dude, go look up that, because you think that's what that Havana syndrome thing is?
It's possible, man. This thing, if you put it above, like in the sky, and aim it at an area and the beam spreads a little bit, you can create mass illness, mass sickness, mass hysteria. You can have everyone running around thinking that they've got somebody talking to them and commanding them to do certain things. It's out of control. This weapon can be fully weaponized in a lethal way, in a way that can make people become psychotic. You can make somebody think they're burning it on fire.
Active denial system demo. Can we listen to what this guy's saying?
It can deter individuals on a military perimeter all the way up to a riotous crowd, all without permanent harm.
It only penetrates 1/6 of an inch of your skin. It goes very shallow into where your nerve receptors are.
They can't take it.
Whoa.
No permanent injury caused by it.
So what does it do to them?
Send a frequency, a beam of frequency, just like Thoth says in the Emerald Tablets. I put this in my book because it's important.
The guests volunteer to test out its effectiveness and safety, including the Assistant Commandant of the Marine Corps.
Wow, he said fuck it. He said fuck it.
Assistant Secretary of the Navy. Most described it as feeling like a hot oven or grill being opened up.
It is something that...
Wow.
There's no space in my inventory.
So that's what he used on them thousands of years ago.
Holy shit.
video's
Or
from
something like
2012.
Something like it.
2012?
Yeah.
Oh, now they turned you into a statue.
Oh,
Actually
yeah.
statue.
Absolutely.
Now, now it's over. And Medusa.
Yeah.
Medusa.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Same tech.
What do you
probably
think Medusa was?
Frequency technology.
Imagine that. Imagine that story. We always thought that was just some crazy story.
Yeah.
But imagine there's a technology back then that can actually turn you into stone.
Right.
Now that we know that people can do things like that, and then we would imagine 1,000 years of evolution, 10,000, 500,000, whatever these people are,
Yeah.
whatever these things are that have the ability. It's kind of disappointing that they're still waging a war, though. I got to tell you that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's a bummer.
That's a real archaic mindset. You know, we have to find a way to rise above. This is why we need to understand exactly what happened and how do we overcome what's been embedded into our epigenetic memories, because we're suffering from epigenetic mental hysteria, which is psychosis, and this war psychosis. We've been programmed as human beings to have consumption and fighting and competition over collaboration.
Yeah.
Everything is designed to keep us separate. Divide and conquer is the main mission, and it works so well for so many thousands of years. And this divide and conquer tactic has been burnt into our DNA and our code, has put us in a situation where we are not advancing as we should be. We're getting now this technology leaked out to us, and yes, that's advancing pretty fast, but consciously and spiritually, it's holding us back. Because everyone's putting themselves in boxes and saying, I'm a part of this thing and I'm a part of that thing, and then we don't work together.
No, that's such an important point, and it needs to be drilled into people's heads. We're distracting ourselves by getting involved in these stupid arguments over stupid things. When there's really important issues with the world, and those aren't being addressed. And one of the big ones is, how do you stop people from killing each other? How do you stop war? How do we stop this insane practice of having groups of people go up against groups of people they've never even met and killing them?
Exactly.
And then we're all okay with this. We talk about how this is normal and this has to be done, and these war is ugly and it's unfortunate, but we have to do it. Like, okay, are you fucking sure? Who's pulling the strings here?
People with
That's what I've been
$10,000
saying.
suits that don't get on the front line.
Yeah.
They send poor kids and young men and women to die.
Yeah.
And you know, they
Exactly.
and it's all about money.
It's all about money. And, you know, Smedley Butler wrote about it in 1933.
War's a racket.
Yeah. And
That's right.
You read that. Read that from 1933, folks. And this is a general who, was he a general?
He's
What
general.
was his rank? Yeah.
General.
Who's retiring, and he wrote this piece about how he thought he was preserving democracy. He was really just making the place safe for bankers. And
Yep.
it's an ugly business that Eisenhower tried to warn us about in his leaving from office speech.
That's right.
When
Yeah.
he stepped down, or when he was no longer the president, he left office and gave a speech about warning about the military-industrial complex and its
right.
influence.
He sure did.
And I don't think they knew back then that people would be able to have YouTube and just watch that.
Yeah.
And if that's how they did it back then, imagine how good they are at it now.
Oh man, they're masters at neuroscience. Applying neuroscience to the general population, they are masters at it, and they know how to get into the psyche of a human being, and they know how to turn us against each other, while they themselves chop it all up. Like I always say, there is no Democrat or Republican. Doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is a group of elite oligarchs that torture men, women, and children worldwide. That exists. They capitalize and monetize us, and they put their boot on our neck. But to think that there's left wing and a right wing, I think it's the same bird.
Yeah, it's all just money.
Yeah.
It's all money. And they use social issues, whatever they are, whether it's Christianity or abortion rights or whatever it is. They just use those as like little moves that they put in their little
It's
game.
sad, bro. It's
And
evil.
Really what it's about is enriching themselves and staying in power. And the best way to stay in power is control narratives and to control influence and make people believe a very specific thing and drill it into their head. But the problem is, like, I think human beings are more awake now than ever before, and they know this game now.
Yeah.
At least a large number of us know this game.
It's shifting so fast. It's shifting like incredibly fast, which is great.
How old are you, Billy?
I'll be 53 in September.
You look great.
Thanks, man.
So you and I are basically close to the same age. I'm 56. And when we were kids, this version of the world was never discussed. You'd have to be a complete kook to think that money is why wars are started. Oh, come on. No one would ever do that.
Right.
You would be a complete kook to think that the pharmaceutical drug companies lie about their drugs. What are you talking about? They can't do that. They would be arrested.
Yeah.
You'd be a kook.
Yeah.
And now especially after the pandemic, that's how everybody feels. And watching these wars go on between Ukraine and Russia and Palestine, and
It's
Israel,
no longer for
what the
money.
fuck is
Like
going
there's
on?
something.
21st
Well,
century
it is
is
for
just
money. I'm
Yes.
tripping. I'm tripping.
In
What the fuck am I
large
saying?
scale.
Yeah.
And
But
people
it's-
are having debate over the acceptable
It's
amount of
just-
numbers of women and
There's
children. that are
more
dying
going
in
on.
war.
I don't know what the fuck's going on.
It's insane. It's insanity.
Insane.
Earth is, you know, partly is.
My fault. It's because they were just talking about money and how, oh no, how would they do this? They wouldn't do this for money or whatever. Blah blah blah. I'm tripping, bro. I don't know. My comment fucking threw me off. But yeah, like it's for money, bro. They're doing this shit for more than money. They're doing this to control, to distract people, and all of that. I mean, look at the power of television, bro. The power of the news and media and all this bullshit, bro. Like, hey, it's all there to distract you. Even media. I mean, even gaming. I won't lie to you. But I feel like gaming has allowed my sanity to be a little bit more stable than anything else. I've learned a lot of stuff from just gaming in general, if I'm being honest. Constantly like working on a lot of problem solving, and you know what I'm saying, like different, I don't know, I'm working on a lot of different things mentally, right? Not physically, obviously. But I don't know, man. This conversation right here, this podcast is very interesting. It hits a lot of the areas that I've always wondered and kind of had a feeling or a sense of what's going on. But like I said, I was born 29 years ago. These guys are like in their 50s, close 60s, and it's like they don't even know what the fuck is going on. How the fuck am I gonna know what's going on? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
It's a giant mental facility. Mental health is a major issue on this planet.
Yeah.
When a person can look at someone and say they deserve to die because of their beliefs or their non-belief, that's a major problem. That's a sign of
it is a
mental illness.
problem.
It's also a sign of like a spoiled child. It's almost like we skipped the line, right? We didn't really we didn't pay our dues to become people.
Yeah.
We got turned into people.
Yeah.
You know, like
You're right.
Because if there's anthropologists are looking at chimpanzees now, and they're looking at them and saying they're entering into the Stone Age.
Yeah.
Like they're using tools now. Now, if you watch that same chimpanzee and you went a few million years in the future, who knows what it looks like? Probably looks like an upward looking human that has much more intricate tools. Or who knows if it's created stone weapons, structures, houses. They may develop a language.
True.
You could watch chimpanzees over the course of evolution, but that's too slow.
Yeah.
And so, if you were another highly intelligent being from another planet, you're like, look, they're gonna get there. We'll give them a little
something.
push. Give them
Yeah.
a little something.
And the evidence of that is
Give 'em a
in
little trust fund.
tablets called the Myth of Adapa, which means first man. The Myth of Adapa, an ancient Sumerian text. It's a tablet. And in this tablet, you can buy the book Myth of Adapa on Amazon. You can read it for yourself, completely translated, and translated by scholars, by the way. And it's talking about the fact that according to the Anunnaki, human beings were created in a way that genetically we were supposed to become more superior than them. They didn't know this was going to happen. And Lil was angry at his brother Enki because Enki put a little extra in the sauce. Yeah, a little
really?
extra. And he said that the mysteries to unlock the secrets of the universe is hidden within our bodies, and that we ourselves can rise to be even higher than them. This was a major thing to be putting into text like this. Now, who sits around
How do they
and writes this?
That sounds insane.
Yeah.
How do they specifically describe that?
They describe it just like that. It says that human beings, or man, we call man, Adapa was created to be even higher than us, and that all the secrets of the universe, the mysteries, are within our body. And I believe that because when I started studying DNA, that took me into a whole DNA study. I discovered this scientist called George Church. And he created this ebook that he was able to take from a digital format, and he was able to download it onto 1 drop, 1 gram of DNA, a digital book. He converted it from ACs, T's, and G's into from zeros and ones. I'm sorry, he converted it from zeros and ones into ACs, T's, and G's. Read, write, put it on the DNA. Then he said, "Wow, this is incredible. DNA can store information in a volume." Then he said, "Okay, this is what we're going to do. Let's replicate this book." So he replicated the book 80 billion times on 1 gram of DNA. And this is not just a regular ebook. This book had graphics and images and everything else in it. So then he said, let's see if we can get it back. So he converted, created a read write again. He converted it from ACs, T's, and G's back to zeros and ones and uploaded it back to the server. So now he knows that DNA can upload and download information. Crazy.
Whoa.
So now they said, okay, well, how much data can be stored on 1 drop? Over 433 petabytes of data. A petabyte is 1,000 terabytes.
What an unfortunate name.
I know, right? I know, that's a crazy name. I was like, why'd y'all name it this? Petabyte. But anyway. Yeah, so they said,
insane.
now they discovered recently on holmium atoms, scientists have now written information, data onto an individual holmium atom. And they discovered that we can store information they can read write directly onto the surface of an actual atom.
Oh my
Now, think about that for a second.
Oh my God.
So they're saying that a human body can store 13.5 billion years of roughly of data, which is roughly around the time they believe the universe probably exists. So that myth of Adapa text could be accurate. The secrets of the universe is probably encoded into our body because we're just recycled atoms.
Right. And then as we evolve technologically and biologically, we develop a higher and higher ability to access that information.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. The longer we go, the more we're able to tap into this information, tap into who we truly are. We'll begin to walk in our power, look inside, go to inner space, not outer space. We'll begin to tap into this. And they discovered now that junk DNA is no longer junk. They're taking the term junk off of it, that it really has function. It always had function. It was never junk. That's just a word to keep us programmed into thinking that we're junk.
Well, I think it was a way for them to explain something that they couldn't explain.
Right. But when you use the word junk, if you understand affirmations, you know, I would never call myself junk. So that's a weird way to do it. But now they're finding out that's and again, in the myth of Adapa, it's saying that we're going to tap into this. So I believe that all of our innate abilities that we used to have are going to start to come back over time, like accessing Earth's magnetic field with the magnetite crystals in our brains. We all have billions of magnetite crystals in our brains, and they put a guy into a laboratory, and they put a giant bar magnet and moved it around the room, and they put an EEG cap on them and a scanner, and they saw that they were orienting themselves to the magnetic field. So we still have the ability to navigate magnetic fields. We just don't even know it. We're unaware of it.
Well, we know it exists in animals.
Yeah. So we have it in our body as well. So all these things are going to begin to come back.
There's so little true understanding of like how birds migrate, like how they all know when to do it, what is calling them, what a very specific direction. Are they using landmarks on the ground? Are they just using some sort of a magnetic field? Are they just tuned in to where the North Pole is? And what are they doing?
Yeah.
How are they doing it? What is the organ that's allowing them to do it?
Yeah.
Is that something that humans have, and it went away? Just like I can't remember anybody's phone number anymore.
Right.
I used to have so many phone numbers in my head.
We had to have them because we're 70s babies.
Yeah.
Oh, you're still you may
I'm
be
a
60,
60s
not
baby.
60. Yeah, I'm 70s, 71. But what happened was, if you look at the tablets again, this is why I love these tablets, man. They talk about the fact that they had created this being. Not created from scratch, but genetically modified. They add their essence to it, is what they say, added our essence. So by adding the essence, you can see where all of a sudden maybe our ancestors were in tune with the magnetic field and were able to communicate psychopathically, maybe even had telekinesis and these other innate abilities, weren't technologically advanced, but maybe more spiritually advanced. And they tinkered with us and took away our memory, took away our ability to tap into that so we can focus solely on them.
Well, I guess if you were gonna, have you ever seen the movie Prometheus?
Oh, yeah.
When the alien dies and its DNA goes into the water.
Yeah.
If you were gonna play a real long game and seed life in the universe, and then you were gonna, especially with us, if you were gonna create something that's very sophisticated and encode inside of it enough information that they could figure out everything.
Yeah.
It's just gonna take time. So you have to earn this information, but it's in there.
Yeah.
It's such a compelling theory. The problem is I get so wrapped up in these that I hope they're true. And when I hope they're true, I stop thinking critically. Because I'm like, that's the most fun. It's the most fun to think that we were created by aliens. Yeah. It's the most fun to think there's a base on the north side of the moon.
Right.
But the undeniable stuff that, to me, is equally compelling, I think, even than the aliens, is like, how did they make the pyramids? Like, who did that?
Yeah.
Who did that, and what was that culture like?
Right.
Like, if I could go one place, I would go to Egypt, Giza, when it's thriving.
Yeah.
When it's thriving, whatever. I don't even know what the number is. You know, I don't know if it's a John Anthony West number or if it's a, more conventional number of 4,000. Whatever it is, just get me there.
Right.
Let me see what that was.
Yeah.
What were you guys doing?
Right.
How the fuck did you make that thing? How did you get those stones from 500 miles away? How did you cut them so perfectly? How did you get them all the way up in the ceiling of this giant king's chamber?
Yeah.
What was that damn thing? Why did it have a gold cap on the top?
Right.
Like, what did you guys do? How did you make the gold cap?
Yeah.
Like, what did you guys do?
It's wild. I go with the John Anthony West theory. I'm closer to his time frames.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, John Anthony West.
He was amazing.
Amazing man. Wow.
Yeah, Magical Egypt, folks. It's I think there's 2 versions of the video series that you can get online. Go find it. It's incredible. The first one I watched like 10 times.
Yeah.
I was like, this is just forget about speculation, forget about like timelines, just the undeniable majesty of the construction of those structures and the statues and like what they built was like, my God, like nothing else.
Yeah.
Like nothing else in the world. No one's even a distant second place.
No, not even close.
Egypt
wild.
Egypt can just stand above all of it, and it was so long ago.
Yeah, it's super ancient. And what I like about John Anthony West, his theory aligns with the Emerald Tablets date range, because when he talks about the Great Sphinx being built 2 processional periods back, it takes it back to around 38,000 years ago, around the same time that Thoth claims to have written the Emerald Tablets. And in these tablets, he talks about building the Great Pyramid. He said, "Builded I the Great Pyramid, patterned after Earth's force, so that it too might remain through the ages." So he claims to be the master architect of the structure of the Great Pyramid. And what he did was he incorporated into it advanced science. It's not just a power generator. It's also, in my opinion, it also could be a multifunctional stone computer. Okay? And this thing calculates the orbits of the planets in the inner solar system, which is crazy.
How's it do that?
Matter of fact, well, if I have some, can I open up this to just read some notes?
Yeah,
I got
definitely.
some incredible notes that I did, some math that I did
I'm
years
amazed
ago.
at how much you don't need notes. There's a few people that come on this podcast that blow me away without notes. I'm like, Terrence is one of them.
Yeah, he's one of them. Yeah.
Rhonda Patrick, she's another one of them.
I just want to get the numbers exact,
Okay.
So one thing, the equatorial circumference of the Earth can be calculated by the Great Pyramid, because the Great Pyramid itself is 1 by 43,200 scaled down. So if you take the Great Pyramid and scale it up 43,200 times, it fits directly inside the sphere of the Earth, and it touches the equator. Okay.
So meaning the dimensions of how the angles of it would fit inside of a sphere.
Inside of a sphere. It's a representation of the Earth in a pyramidal format. Okay. That's crazy. And if you multiply that by the base perimeter, you get 24,734.94 miles, which is roughly within 170 miles of the circumference of the planet Earth itself. Okay, which is wild. You can also calculate the speed of the Earth around the sun. So the Great Pyramid, basically you take a pyramid inch times 10 to the 8th power, it equals the speed of Earth around the sun. That's wild.
The problem with these kind of calculations is Flint Dibble made note of this, that you could take that and you could do that with a lot of different things. Like, what was the one he used for 420?
Yeah, he had 420 and 69 in it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different funny ones.
420,
Yeah,
weed
the
day?
weed day, yeah. He was explaining how you take these arbitrary precession of the equinox numbers, and you could multiply them times like whatever you want. You could get a bunch of different results, like based on what you wanted the result to be, not based on the actual.
Some of them are hard to do. Check this out. Forget about multiplying things. What about taking the fact that the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, is located at the center of land mass on Earth, not the center of the Earth, the center of land mass. Now, the only way you can put the pyramid at the center of landmass is you have to have a polar orbiting satellite. If we were to do it today, a polar orbiting satellite that's orbiting this way, and as the Earth spins on its axis, you're taking swaths of data and you're calculating the landmass, and then you're going to say, okay, this is the center point for landmass, and you put it there.
So the center point for landmass being you take the surface of the Earth, what percentage of it is covered with water, where the ground is,
Right.
and then you find the center of where the most ground is,
Yes.
and that's where the pyramid is.
Exactly. The next
Exactly.
thing is taking all the average heights of all the peaks on Earth and then dividing that to get the average height and making that the height of the Great Pyramid. Now,
Whoa.
you can't just randomly calculate those numbers, okay?
That's the average height of all the mountains and the peaks on Earth?
That's right.
Wow.
That's right, and that's an absolute fact. The Grand Gallery, the latitude of the Grand Gallery inside the Great Pyramid leading into the King's Chamber, the latitude are the exact digits of the speed of light in meters per second. You can't just randomly calculate that one.
Well, you can't just get those stones down. I mean, there's not one thing about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can get real crazy with numbers and mathematics, but there's not one thing about it that's not completely insane. Like, every single aspect of it is completely insane.
Yeah.
The fact that we still will try to pretend today that it's not impressive, or that it was impressive, but that they did it with sand and they did it with, like,
Yeah.
how do you
Well-
know?
Well,
Like,
you would
don't
need more.
know.
You would need more mud if you the mud ramp theory. You would need more mud in mass than the pyramid itself. So that's a farce. You
The
know.
mud thing, I mean, it's like, just show me one.
Yeah.
Show me one. Just
Well, here's the problem with that mud ramp theory. I don't think people realize. I take people on tour to the pyramid every single year. I take people on a huge tour. Last year we had 140 people on tour in Egypt for 12 days or whatever it was. But the pyramid itself, each individual stone at the pyramid, excuse me, each individual stone at the pyramid is a different shape and size. There are no two stones that are perfectly the same. Each stone fits in an interlocking format. So you can't say, go over here and cut these stones, we're going to bring them over here and we're going to throw up this pyramid. It doesn't work that way. Each stone is made individually, specifically for the location that it's exactly in.
because they all have to be at an angle.
An
Because they're all
angle
going up towards this angle, so
and
everyone has to be
interlocking.
cut perfect.
Exactly. So they're interlocking stones, and there's no way to say just cut this cookie cutter out and we're going to bring them and hoist them in
And
the
all
spot.
of them are perfect.
All of them. And if you accidentally cut the wrong size or you're off by a few inches, you can't make the pyramid. You can spend a week or two getting a stone to a location that don't fit. It doesn't make any sense. They had foreknowledge. People don't take the amount of resources, energy, effort that it took to build that structure and then guessing that it will work out in the end. You only build that if you have a complete blueprint and you've got proven facts, right? You have proof of concept that it works and you've done this before.
Now, what do you think about the other pyramids that are wonky? Like the ones that aren't perfect? Do you
Yeah.
think that they were trying to duplicate the Great Pyramid? Do you think they were trying to make their own?
The deeper you go into antiquity, the more perfect construction was. The further you come forward in time, the more wonky and crazy things are and begin to fall apart.
So do you think they just forgot how to do it?
The knowledge was lost. You can see the evidence of the knowledge. By the time we got to Alexander the Great, have you ever been to Alexandria?
No.
I thought I was going to go see this incredible place. It looks like a bunch of crap, a bunch of piled up rocks, buildings leaning on each other, even the people living in apartments that are leaning, buildings leaning.
Oh, wow.
Everything there looks just, it was the stones are small. I could pick up those stones with my own hands. They tried to duplicate the majesty of ancient Egypt, but they didn't even come close.
It's just so bizarre that one civilization got so much further than everybody else.
Yeah.
And no one really knows exactly how they did it.
Right, light years ahead.
Now, when you hear the carbon dating of the Great Pyramid, what is your take on that? Because the radiocarbon dating is 2,500 BC, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what they think.
I just don't believe it.
Why is that?
Well, first of all, the way that the structure is made, if you look at other structures made in that same time frame, they don't have the same majesty. They don't have the same level of construction. They don't have the same capability of withstanding time.
Right.
So why are these falling apart, but this one isn't falling apart? And
But that's not necessarily because look, you could have a shitty house today, and you could
True.
live right next to Jeff Bezos' house.
That's very true.
You know, I mean, it's just there's going to be different cultures and different abilities and you know different craftsmen.
Yeah, within the same region. I'm talking about within the same area.
Yeah, but even in the same area, you're
Yeah.
always going to have people that suck.
If you look at the subterranean shaft, I don't know if you've ever been there. It descends beneath the Great Pyramid down into the ground on a specific angle, about 65 meters. and there's another 30-meter drop straight beneath that.
And
down
this
to
is
the
where
base.
Christopher Dunn has hypothesized that there was something that was creating a frequency down there, something that like pounds in the earth,
Yes.
creates a very specific frequency and a very specific vibration that goes through the entire stone structure, which theoretically could work.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then this whole thing about using different chemicals in these shafts that leak through the limestone, and that limestone is porous, and you would have a specific amount of thickness with limestone, so you'd know exactly how much chemicals to put in the shafts.
Yep.
And the shafts did exist, and they did have openings to them, and they were sealed.
Yeah.
But you could open them up and dump things into them, and then the passageway that goes into the King's Chamber, the so-called King's Chamber,
Yeah.
and that it has opening shafts that go to the heavens.
Yes, they
and
do.
it's like the whole,
And I think I know why. My hypothesis on those shafts is, well, you look at the way the pyramid is designed, the Queen's Chamber is technology. It seems to be like an electrolysis generating machine to extract hydrogen from water. And Chris Dunn had the same, pretty close to the same hypothesis I had with that. Now, why hydrogen? It's the most abundant element in the universe. And right now, today, we try to communicate with ET on the hydrogen frequency. Now, those shafts, imagine on the certain alignments, we know for a fact that that pyramid aligns with specific planets or stars. Orion, Aldebaran, Draco, these alignments. And then these shafts would send out this hydrogen frequency, potentially, on my hypothesis, around those alignments. Why? For communication purposes. Updates on this breakaway civilization. Because I believe there was an ancient galactic war, which I talk about on my show, my docuseries, Anunnaki. And this ancient war created these space refugees, which then spread out around the Milky Way. Earth just happens to be one of the breakaway civilizations.
it's not outside the realm of possibility when you think about what we're doing. And
Bro, I swear.
And if we get more advanced and do this better, that we could be still involved in very similar types of activities throughout the galaxy.
Yeah.
It sounds terrible, but that just might be how things get done. Unfortunately, war might just be a part of our essence, and it might be a part of the whole cosmic balance of good and evil. That this shifting of the winds and this, of the tides coming in and coming out. This is like this. It needs good and bad. It needs all these things.
Yeah. Well, in the biblical text, God says in Isaiah, I create the good and I create the evil. Do what I say, the Lord.
Right, the
Yes,
battle,
he's saying he creates good and evil. Yin and yang is what they call in ancient cultures, right? Good and evil, dark and light, it's all the same thing.
It's the most fascinating subject to me. It really is. The most fascinating subject is when I hear stories from the Bible or the Bhagavad Gita or the Talmud, any stories like what was the origin? What were they trying to say? What were they documenting? What were they sharing in an oral tradition of the history of people and of the earth and of the heavens themselves? What were they sharing? What were those things? How much of it was myth? How much of it was someone misinterpreted the original story and watered it down? But at the beginning of it, even at the beginning, there was light. It's literally like the Big Bang.
Yeah.
It's literally describing what the current scientists believe happened. And then you think about these stories of floods. And then we know there's evidence, like the Randall Carlson work, all his work on the flooding that existed, where you could see these like enormous channels cut through that is indicative of just insane amounts of water over a short period of time.
Yeah.
And when he describes that, you're like, what?
Yeah, it's incredible.
And then the fact that we know that there's asteroid impacts, there's comet impacts, and that the ice age ended abruptly, and that all these areas, like this is where it was. This is where it went down, and this might be every fucking story that you've heard from the beginning of time. Epic of Gilgamesh, Noah and the Ark, all these stories.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, obviously, the Noah story is inside of the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yes.
I believe that is a result of the Younger Dryas incident. In the Epic of Atrahasis, there is this this strike of this either an asteroid or whatever it is going to hit. It doesn't specifically say, but they had the ability to stop it. And there's this other disc that has cuneiform writing on it, which is supposedly the direction that this thing took course through space to hit Earth. And so it was kind of known that this was going to happen. And everywhere you look on the Earth around that same time period that this is estimated to happen, megalithic construction stopped. What happened that everyone stopped at the same time, unfinished in the quarry, unfinished in the quarry over here, unfinished in the quarry? All of a sudden, around the entire planet, everything is unfinished. Something happened globally that made people stop working on these structures and go to maybe Darren Kuyu underground base, or in the Americas, that, you know, they say that the ant people, the Hopi say the ant people took them under. If you couldn't go under and save yourself, you had a ship. We know that Ziusudra in the Epic of Gilgamesh was told how to build this ship, but it wasn't a boat like what we know was said in the Bible. It was actually a disc he was told to build. We found the tablet for that, so we have the tablet in the British Museum. It was an actual disc that looked like pie sections on the inside. And he was told to collect his local flora and fauna and his local livestock, not two of every kind in the world. He didn't get 2 ticks and 2 fleas and 2. It didn't happen. You know, he had local livestock, but he built a disc, not a ship, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, these stories are everywhere. You know, it's pretty crazy.
It is crazy, and it's just so strange when you see resistance to the idea, while there's still real evidence of this impact.
Yeah.
Once there was real evidence of the impact, once the Younger Dryas impact theory started being discussed by legitimate scientists, and they recognized when they're doing these core samples that they find nuclear glass, and they find all of these things like iridium that are very common in space, very rare on Earth, all this very thin layer. It's real clear there's a time where all this shit goes down.
Yeah, it happened.
And there's also mass die-offs in places. And my friend John Reeves, have you ever seen the Alaska Boneyard on Instagram?
No, I haven't seen that one. Yeah. Wow.
Jamie, pull that up. So he has this piece of land. And he's a gold miner in Alaska. He's a fucking great character. And he has this amazing piece of land that they've pulled out thousands of bones and tusks and woolly mammoths and animals that aren't the Boneyard Alaska is his Instagram. That things that weren't even supposed to exist in that area. They have absolute proof of these things existing. Different cats and short-faced bears and all kinds of shit. So they're pulling things out every day. He just texted me the other day, asked me to come out and blow out a mastodon bone. I can't make it, bro. I can't make, I'm busy, but I love this dude. And what he's doing up there is all his. This is his property.
Incredible.
So he's got it all documented. He's got warehouses. He spent millions of dollars doing all this stuff. And his one area is only a few acres, man.
Wow.
It's only a few acres.
So imagine what's really up there.
Imagine what's really up there. And what he thinks is that there was a mass die-off that probably happened instantaneously, and all these things got swept in the water and washed down into this one particular area where they collected, and that's where he's finding them.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So he's got 2 very specific areas that aren't that big. Just a few acres each. I think the biggest one is like 6 acres.
Wow.
It's crazy. And so they're using these high-pressure hoses, and they shoot into the permafrost, and they slow, because it's, you know, it's cold. It's
you gotta
fuck
melt
up there.
it.
So everything is just frozen into the ground.
Right.
So they blast into the permafrost and start to loosen things up, and show some of the images of the warehouses that he has. I mean, insane amounts of tusks and bones.
Wow.
And there's even more than this. The what is the museum in New York that has his bones? Natural History Museum. From the previous owners of this property, they took a bunch of these bones and they wind up dumping some of them in the East River because they had too many of them.
Oh man.
So then they've sent out people. What is his name? Dirty Water Dan? Don. Dirty Water Don. Dirty Water Don, who's this fucking scuba diver guy who goes into the East River, who found woolly mammoth bones.
Wow.
And what the other one? Bison bones. All these different bones at the bottom of the fucking East River, exactly
crazy.
where he said they would be dumped off.
Wow.
So they dumped them because they had so much of them, and then they have a bunch of them that are still there. So now they have Alaskan politicians who are pressuring the museum to release these things back to these people so they can get them in the hands of people that could fucking study them.
Right.
Because they just have them locked up, and they're just trying to say that they're theirs. First they tried to deny they have them, then he provided paperwork, and there's proof, and then they denied there was ever any dumped into the East River. But now they pulled them out of the East River. Now they know.
It's real.
So look at this.
That's incredible.
This is insane.
That's an incredible graveyard.
This is insane.
Wow.
boning. He calls it, when you help, it's a boneyard. So if you go there, you become a boner. So he wants to make me an official boner. So all these bones. I mean, this is just a small sampling of what this guy has. We have one out there. We have a bison head.
Wow.
That he gave me.
Well, I saw it out there.
Yeah, that's what that is.
That's what that is? That
probably,
came from here?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
wow.
probably 15,000 years old or something.
That's wild.
Who knows?
I mean, that's crazy. You know,
This whole thing is insane. Look at all this stuff he's got. I mean, it's just, and this is just one small area that they're chipping away at.
a few acres.
So, and there's charred surface. There's a layer that they go through that's all completely charred. And he's documented this too. Like, what the fuck happened here? Look at this layer.
Yeah.
This layer is insane. This whole place was up in flames.
Yep.
See the char? He's got it in his
There it
hand.
goes.
There's thick layers of that. Scroll up to his caption. What does it say? Something came in hot from out of this world, I'm thinking. What you're looking at is what we found on the bedrock when we were digging the drain. The bedrock is burned, the gravel is burned, and nobody knows why yet. That's okay. We'll figure it out someday.
Wow.
So there's a whole layer of
There's a whole
this.
layer.
It's clearly something was on fucking fire.
Definitely. Well, we found charred stones just like that at the base, ejected out from the base of the bent pyramid of Doja.
Really?
And if you look at this, we've been documenting this. I'm gonna put it in my TV show, you know, the Anunnaki series. There's areas of the bent pyramid that look like they've been blown out. Something hit it and blew out the stones and charred them black, like just like that. And there's like a debris field out there, and nobody is studying this stuff. So we started studying these charred stones and these charred rocks. And up above the area where you kind of walk in to go down into the bent pyramid, there's more, look like another impact point where there's more stones blown away. And as you walk out away from the face, you discover that's where they lay. And you put your hand in the sand and pull up these charred, burnt stones, which is just wild.
So can we see some of that? See what that looks like?
Look at the bent pyramid.
The bent pyramid.
If anybody goes to those corners, they'll
Is
be
this
able
a
to show.
common theory? This theory of it being hit by something?
Nobody's talked about it yet. You know, that's why we're trying to analyze and see what could have happened.
A piece hit there, but like the bigger impact was somewhere else and it just wiped
'Cause
everybody
you know how
out.
when something comes in, it breaks into chunks,
Yes,
and then a
of
piece
course.
hits over here. Yeah, see that corner there? You see that corner? Now that corner, you know, I wish we could get a better color picture, but there's a debris field there. All those stones are just, it looks like an impact, and there's out away from it, there's charred, burnt rocks in the sand. You pick up a regular piece of rock, you can see what that is, a geode. You put up these, it looks like charred, burnt stone that came from the pyramid itself.
I'd like to see the image of the chart because to me, when I'm looking at that, it just looks like people are stealing rocks.
You get that, but you know that's exactly what it looks like. But that's not stealing rocks there. And the guide, the homegrown archaeologist that was with us, Muhammad Ibrahim, has the same exact belief because we are able to see those areas there, the mass of what's missing, the majority of it's in the sand. Which is why I would send you the photo.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't stolen. It was knocked off.
Yeah, it's there. It's still there. So I'll send you the photo that we
Jamie,
have.
could you please click on the one to the left of your cursor right there? Yeah, that one. Thank you. Can you make that one bigger? I see.
Yeah.
So all that got blown apart.
It's blown apart, and the mass is still there. A lot of it turned into dust and powder, but the black pieces are would be further toward me.
Can you tell us where we can find images of those, the chart?
I have some.
Can you show them to Jamie or send them to Jamie?
I'll send them to you right away. Absolutely.
You can't airdrop it because you're using foreign technology. Not even.
Yeah, we'll just download them and email them to you.
But we want to be able to do it
They're
now.
on our
so we
Google
can-
Photo Drive right now.
Could you just send it to him if
Yeah.
he got you an email? We'll do it right now.
Absolutely.
Okay, Jamie, will you give him an email?
Yeah.
We'll pause here for a second,
we can
folks. You get
find-
these images.
See if we can
don't
find
want to
some
bore you with
images
this. Okay. So we left off with the burnt pyramid areas that look like they've been hit.
Yeah.
And he said, so we got the photographs from your wife. So let's take a look at them here.
Yeah.
So this is a video.
Yeah, I have the videos because they were going to give me screenshots from the videos.
yeah.
So I figured we just look at the videos instead. There's one that's kind of more zoomed in, but
Yeah, it's hard to get the idea of the coloration, the discoloration there from the low resolution,
Let's see
phone video.
Do we have any other videos? Or is it just videos, Jamie, or we have photo? Oh,
You can see
okay.
those,
This
okay,
area.
there's some, you see those areas there, those
Yeah.
black areas on the stone. If you rub them, they get very black underneath.
Okay.
There's also other pieces that are smaller laying further out. That
So
are,
there's charred areas that have been covered with dust and sand over time.
right, exactly.
But if you brush it off, you see it charred.
You see those dark areas there on those stones?
Yeah.
That's not the
Pause
natural
that,
color of
Jamie.
the stone. If you
Pause
go back
that.
up. That's not the natural color at all. Those colors there, and the geologist and the homegrown guide that we use in the archaeologist also said that's not the normal coloration. They don't know what energetic we have in here.
Okay, so now I see it. I see it in that. Stop right there. I see it in that stone right there as well. So charred, and then over the thousands of years covered with dust and sand. But if you dust off the dust and sand, you see this charred surface.
Right. Yeah, which is crazy.
Well, that does kind of make sense if a little chunk hit that.
Yeah.
And a bunch hit some other spots, and that was just. And it also makes sense if you think about how an advanced civilization like that can just disappear. What would have to be the moment? It just doesn't make any sense. I know there's the burning of the Library of Alexandria where they lost a lot of the information, but
I think that might have been a book heist.
really,
Yeah, I think the burning of the Library of Alexandria was a heist. The burning did happen, don't get me wrong, but that was just a distraction to steal the knowledge, and that the majority of that knowledge ended up in the Vatican archives. That's what I believe.
Vatican is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. I went there with my family a few years back, and I was blown away. And I highly recommend it to anybody that gets to go to Rome. If you go to Rome, please go to the Vatican. It's stunning.
Yeah.
It's stunning, all the artwork they have. And they also have an Egyptian obelisk.
Yes, right. Which is crazy. And you know, that obelisk, that courtyard is the same courtyard as Teotihuacan. If you look at Teotihuacan, not the dimensions, but just the actual shape of that courtyard, it matches the courtyard of Teotihuacan. So,
really?
Yeah, it's an incredible coincidence that they built it based on the Teotihuacan, where the Avenue of the Dead has those platforms, and then you have the Pyramid of the Sun on the right, and the Pyramid of the Moon straight ahead. That area resembles the courtyard of the Vatican.
The Vatican is so insane. It really, I didn't know. I knew that it had a lot of art. I didn't know.
It's outrageous.
When you go to St. Peter's Basilica, you're just like, what?
I know.
What did you do?
Yeah,
How did you do? How much time did this take?
Yeah.
This is so intricate and so incredible.
I know.
It's one of the most spectacular things I think I've ever seen in my life in terms of like what human beings can do with ingenuity and time and artisans and craftsmen and artisans that just create the most insane ceiling you've ever seen in your life. Right. So intricate.
Yeah.
I mean, and perfect for a house of worship because you walk in there and you believe in God like immediately.
Right.
This is obviously
how
a
grand
shrine
this
to
is.
God. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
And the fact that they did it for so long. It took hundreds of years to make that place.
I know. It's incredible.
It's so amazing.
It lets you know that there's time periods where people would operate within a golden age in certain regions of the planet and have time to do that type of extensive art and craft and beauty, create that kind of beauty.
Right, and the only way you do that is when you got your resources covered and your army strong.
That's it.
And that was Rome.
Yep.
I mean, that's what they were back then.
They tried to take over the world.
Yeah, and the thing about what they have.
When did they add this?
Yeah.
Like, so if they do, like, there's archives that they have in Rome that haven't been searched. Like, they're not just opening them up to everyone.
Right.
So that everyone could look in and see what they have. So there's always been speculation that they have some wild shit written down in there.
Yeah, some wild stuff. I mean, they're investigating aliens, you know?
Right.
I mean, one of the Pope's
most recent
astronomers,
speeches.
you know, they were talking about years ago, though. They were talking about years ago that they wanted to, the Pope wanted to baptize the first alien. Now, that's incredible. That's an incredible statement.
That'd be like turning Michio Kaku into a Scientologist.
Right.
Right? It's like, that would be hilarious.
I know.
That would be hilarious.
And then they built this telescope called Lucifer to look for alien life.
That's not a good name.
Yeah.
You would think anybody who would know better.
Right. The light bearers, that, you know, what Lucifer means, supposedly. But, yeah, they built a telescope named Lucifer.
Right, but the swastika used to be a sign of peace.
Right,
You can't
true.
really use it anymore.
No, you can't use it anymore. I know.
Somebody,
you know.
it's like things can be stolen forever. No one's rocking that Hitler mustache. That's a wrap.
It's over.
The Hitler mustache, it's over. No one's getting called Adolf. That's over. That's over.
It's a wrap. So I guess they didn't want to, you know, cut that name loose, but they utilized that name for that, the name of that, and it's actually in America. I believe it's in Arizona.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding. Wow, Lucifer telescope. How kooky.
I know.
All of the telescopes are fascinating, but what's really the most interesting to me is the James Webb and the information that's coming out about the birth of the cosmos and about how they're looking at these galaxies that seem too big, that they form too quickly, and that they're starting to re-examine the timeline of the Big Bang, and that they're reconsidering whether or not they were correct with this 13 point, what is it, 9 or 7?
13.5 to 13.8 billion year.
Yeah, and they think these galaxies should not exist in this. I was just watching a documentary on it yesterday, or a couple days ago, where they were getting into why this doesn't make sense and the size of these
They don't
galaxies.
have random numbers out
Two
there.
formed, and it was, I believe it was 500 million years after the Big Bang.
Right.
So like this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, according to us now.
According
with our,
to us.
with our minds.
Right.
Yeah. You know, we're still trying to figure out what dark matter is.
Right. Well, I'm just the Terrence Howard, the concept of stars creating planets and the planets eventually getting to a Goldilocks zone, then eventually getting out, and that this is how life propagates through the universe. Like, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And with our limited understanding of the cosmos and our adherence to very specific ideas of how it all was created and the resistance to things like even the James Webb Telescope's discoveries, you realize that like science, like everything else, it's when it's practiced by humans, humans fuck everything up.
Yeah.
They use their ego, they use arrogance, they don't want to be corrected, they want their initial ideas to be correct.
Yeah.
And then there's, you know, a lot of great scientists that are just looking at it and going, this is amazing. Like, let's keep doing this, and let's get an even better telescope out there that maybe can see even further, and maybe we'll have to re-examine what we think about the birth of the universe.
Exactly. I mean, it just keeps getting better. Technology keeps getting better. I remember Hubble, when it came back with the 2 trillion sky book. 2 trillion galaxies is what it estimated exists within our known universe. And then the Webb comes out, and it's just showing this stuff in much more clarity, and it's probably going to make discoveries that are even going to surpass, obviously, Hubble in terms of the quantity of galaxies, and it just keeps getting better and better. We're getting a bigger and better understanding of our place in the universe as a whole, and some people are scared of that. This is why they don't want it to get out. They don't want the information to be put forth that's going to change the paradigm. But the paradigm is not to be afraid. The paradigm shift is about to be embrace this new huge part of us that's connected directly to us. We're part of it, and it's part of us intrinsically, energetically. And I think people are just afraid of what they think is the unknown because it makes them feel small. When I hear all this stuff going on out there, it makes me feel bigger because I know that I am part of it.
Yeah, we are part of it.
Yeah.
But we like to think as individuals. That,
Right.
you know, oh my God, I'm not important. The universe is infinite.
Exactly.
The universe is not just infinite. It's so infinite that the infinite nature of the universe might be a part of an atom.
Right.
In another infinite universe.
That's the fractal holographic universe.
Yeah. When you go fractals on things and you start thinking about it in that terms, and you just you go, what?
Yeah.
It's never ending. It's just this constant thing that's in you, in subatomic particles, and deeper than that, and then further out than that. It just never ends.
Right.
It goes both ways forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just go, oh boy.
I know.
It's hard to take yourself too seriously.
It's it's hard because and I think individuality is an illusion. We appear to be separate and individuals, but energetically we're really all the same entity, the same consciousness, experiencing itself differently, subjectively through different bodies.
Yes, different life experiences, different
exactly.
genetics, different places in the world.
Correct.
Yeah, but we're all the same thing.
Yeah.
And you know, that's the hardest thing for people to get in their head. Anyone that you run into is you living another life.
Right.
We're all the concept of me. When you think about it, everyone has that same feeling of me. Everyone has me inside of them. They're just me with less information, more information, better brain, better this, better that, shittier this, shittier that.
Yeah.
And there's an infinite number of examples of it. And then it probably exists everywhere in the cosmos. And it's probably what facilitates change and growth.
Yeah.
Is that there is this imbalance and that there is this constant struggle amongst human beings.
Right.
And it's probably what makes us constantly try to improve.
Exactly.
It's just very disheartening to think that we improve to the point where we can travel to other planets and have a war.
I know. I know. We don't want that to happen.
We don't want that to happen, but just if
where-
it really did happen
Yeah.
here, it just makes you think,
Yeah.
like, is that just what we do forever? And is this just when we have this utopian perspective of being able to eliminate war on Earth someday, which no one thinks is going to happen?
Yeah.
And
I
not
hope
with this
it
current
happens,
version
man.
of human beings.
Right.
And then you think, well, if we surpassed Earth, if we passed our genes and our civilization out into the universe, are we still going to be behaving the same way?
Right.
And if we were, if I was an alien, I'd be like, don't let those dudes in. You know, if we get to a point where we're us now, but 500 years from now, where with the same genes, same wacky ass crazy genes, but now we have time travel. Now we have interplanetary travels like that, and then we show up with nuclear bombs. It's like, give us all your titanium.
Right.
You know, like fuck. You know, like that's a problem.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
I would be really trying hard to stop us if I was from another planet.
I think a lot of the suppression and oppression of technologies, potentially, this hypothesis could be that there's a hand in the background holding us back a little bit. It's quite possible.
But then there's a theory like the Diana Pasolka's books, where they talk about these discs that they have found in the recovery program that apparently does exist. And they call them donations. They think that these things are kind of left here so that we can just go, oh, fiber optics, what a great idea.
Velcro.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of these things that seem to, like transistors.
Microchips, right.
Yeah, a lot of these things seem to have come very quickly after Roswell. Yeah. Which is interesting.
That's a fact. I believe in the ARVs, alien reproduction vehicles. I believe that exactly is what's really going on with a lot of these UAPs. I think that a lot of them are ours. I believe that there's UFOs out there, but a lot of these objects that we see in the sky are probably made by us.
Bro, I was just saying this not too long ago.
And so, but you know, it
Bro,
comes to
like,
the
what the
point,
fuck?
are we going to be able to advance as a civilization to get beyond war? I just saw they released an AI fighter jet that went into a dogfight.
Yes.
Just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, Mike Baker was on here showing us that.
Right.
And it beats the human piloted planes 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
like, that's a wrap.
That's Skynet.
Yeah,
Skynet is online.
And then on top of that, instead of just AI-powered fighter jet, you could develop a fighter jet that no longer has a person in it, so you have to worry about G-forces.
Right.
You could do wild shit.
Yes, exactly.
And it's fully AI-controlled vehicle, especially as these technologies scale up. Like, I have a Tesla, and my Tesla has auto drive. And I can set in a destination, like a restaurant I like to go to, press auto drive and navigation, and it does everything.
Wow.
It hits the blinkers. Wow. It stops at stop signs. It stops at red lights. Wow. It takes turns. It changes lanes. It moves around parked vehicles.
Wow.
It's fucking wild, man. And it's not done yet.
And this is the beginning.
Yeah, it does hit curbs, though, I heard. I heard it hits curbs. I heard, like, when you're taking turns, like, for overpasses or underpasses.
Oh, man.
Like, a few people have curbed up.
Yeah.
So keep your hands on the wheels, kids.
Yeah.
But it's not there yet, but it's a lot better than when I first got it. I remember I was driving down Laurel Canyon, and I was with my wife, and I was playing around. I was like, we were listening to Led Zeppelin, and I'm like moving my hand around the steering wheel. I'm like, look at this, the car's driving itself. This is crazy. But that was primitive back then. I didn't totally trust it. It was probably better than I thought it was, but like every now and then it would get a little wonky. Now it's smooth.
Wow.
Now you use it at all, Jamie?
Here and there, I kind of almost forget sometimes where that it's like, oh yeah, this car drives its fucking self.
I do it for a goof sometimes.
Just randomly.
I've been doing it a lot lately, though.
Yeah.
It's shockingly good.
Well, our grandkids are that's all they're gonna know.
100%.
They won't have to drive at all.
Yeah, right now, like people joke around about manual cars, that it's a good theft deterrent device. Have a manual transmission. Nobody knows how to drive that fucking thing.
It's hard.
Yeah, well, it used to be the only way you could get a car.
That was it. I learned it by accident, because I was in an emergency situation and I had to drive up my friend's car that was a manual, and I had to learn within the distance between where I was to where I had to go.
Oh wow!
Because one of my kids had got hurt doing something.
And the only car available was a manual.
That was it. Yeah.
It's not hard. I mean, you could learn it quick, but most people don't know how to do it. But the thing is, like, that's going away. Like, they're now saying that the next version of Porsches is going to be the last version that they have with a manual transmission, and which is crazy because Porsche, that was the one thing that people held on to, was that you could get that stick shift. People love that engagement of the car.
Right.
But that's going to be the thing of the past. Everything's going to be automated because your freedom to drive that, people are going to, the communist nature of especially California, they'll do it first probably. Your freedom to drive that is not worth, the potential of you taking someone's life in an accident.
Right.
And this it makes sense. That's part of the problem. It does make sense. You can see the argument.
Oh, yeah. It makes sense, and that's where everything is going to go. I mean, there's going to be so many. Drivers are going to disappear, like chauffeurs and so forth. It's all going to go. It's all going to go away.
There's a lot of that in here. They cause traffic jams. These wacky driverless cars. You know, they have them here, and they're not quite there yet, but they're good enough to take people around,
Right.
which is crazy. You know,
Right,
take me to Red Ash, drives you to the restaurant, drops you off, bye, thank you.
Yeah.
All on an app, everything's done, it's simple.
Yeah.
It's kind of nuts, and it's just the beginning. I mean, we didn't have any of this 10 years ago.
No.
10 years in most time periods is not that big of a deal technologically.
No.
Technologically, rather.
Yeah.
Right
We're
now, it's
advancing fast.
well, ChatGPT 5. When they
Yeah.
release that, it's going to be as big a leap, if not bigger, than 3 to 4. And 3 to 4 was nuts.
Yeah. I mean, in 100 years, we went from a horse, buggy, and carriage all the way to putting remote control cars on Mars. So we're moving at an extremely fast pace right now, and they just released this ChatGPT and other robotics on humanity, which is great. It's going to do a lot of good for us, but at the same time, if you're going to replace somebody's job, you have to then take away their financial responsibilities. You can't expect them to still have the
Right.
financial responsibilities and take away the job.
Right.
So that's going to be the conundrum. I'm waiting to see how that's going to pan out. How many of us are going to stand up and say, look, wait a minute now. I'm a single mother of 3, and I can't waitress anymore. So what's going to happen? Or even attorneys are at risk. Nurses are at risk now. So
Well, here's the
what are they
thing.
going to do?
There's enough money in this country, just in this country alone, to, if you did replace jobs, you make it so that whatever controls that industry has to give a certain percentage to ensure not just like a living wage, but a good wage,
You have
like
to do it.
where people live well and they don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
But then you got to give people a purpose, because you can't just have them laying around getting free money and
Yeah.
not having a life. Because
Right.
a lot of people, their purpose is their job. You know, that's what they look forward to. They get engaged with something. They have a community there. They have tasks that they do. They succeed. They go out to dinner and celebrate. That's a big part of life for people.
is.
You can't just take that away. So then, how does that get replaced?
Right.
I
Yeah.
think it's video games.
Yeah.
I think they just
They're going to go into cyber world.
Yes.
When you look into the ancient texts, they had similar situations in these golden ages, but people spent time working for things like service to others, traveling, arts and crafts, exploring inner peace. So it's about teaching people new ways to define and develop their passions and how to explore those passions.
Well, that would be a big yoga explosion across
Yeah.
the country. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That would be great. Yeah, people get into fitness and martial arts and just to be able to do, but you have to do something.
Right.
If you're, I mean,
Well, if you become stagnant, you die.
yeah, and you still should have the ability to possibly work if you want to.
Yeah.
Right. It shouldn't be mutually exclusive. Like, you don't get this money unless. If everybody got like 200 grand a year, just imagine the entire country just gets a free 200 grand a year. You're never gonna have to worry about food. You're never gonna have to worry about a place to live. You're good.
Yeah.
You got $200,000 a year because everything's automated.
Yeah.
Everything's done by the government. Then you're gonna have to find something.
Right.
You're gonna have to find a purpose. You're gonna.
Yeah.
There's got to be a thing that you, whether it's art or writing
Yeah.
or whatever it
Whatever
is,
it
you
is.
better find something or you're gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
And so then there's gonna be a percentage of our population that's active. They're going to be working out, and there's going to be a bunch of us that just fuck off and drink beer and play Call of Duty.
Just sit down.
Yeah,
I
and
know.
just get hammered and
Yeah.
fucking order pizza and never have to do anything.
Pizza.
Yeah, live in a nice place. You don't have to
Right.
worry about money ever.
Yeah.
You could always buy like a good laptop and you get together with your buddies and you all play games, but you better have something. Go
Yeah.
bowling. You better have something. You better have something you like to do.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because.
Yeah. That's where it's going, though.
But wouldn't that be better than work? Because for most people, like, you know, there's a great satisfaction working and accomplishing a hard day's work, and you know, you get your paycheck and you feel like you've accomplished something. But wouldn't it be better if you just all of your needs were met?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we put an emphasis in our culture on creating and doing things that interest you, and whether it's competition or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But this will be financed essentially
Yeah.
by this ability that you just get free money because robots control everything.
They
There's
have plenty
no
of
more
money.
jobs.
There's
Yeah.
no more jobs. I mean,
Right.
They don't have to pay a salary to these robots. Only repair
Exactly.
costs
Exactly.
and management costs, obviously. So yeah, it would
And
be great.
the $200,000 that everybody gets, they're getting it anyway because they were going to buy stuff from them.
Exactly. Exactly.
It would be a wild change and shift in how human beings interacted. And if there was a way for us to channel that in a positive manner, it could ultimately be beneficial. And we could be looking back on these days where people that work at Wendy's and go, what the fuck was that about?
Yeah. Well, most people are working in jobs that they're not passionate about
Right.
these jobs.
Right.
And it's evident in their work, you know, their effort and their
Sure.
and their work ethics.
Well, it's
But,
also evident in their success, right?
yeah.
And their happiness.
That's right.
Like a guy like you who likes to do what you like. You
Yeah.
enjoy this. You pursue this. You talk
Right.
about this. You're very good at it. This is a great way to live.
yeah.
And if other
Absolutely.
people can find other similar things or different things that
Exactly.
similarly excite them.
Yeah. And if we were under that new scenario of 200,000 a year, whatever it was, I would still do this.
Of course.
You know, so
Of course.
people will work. It's like Star Trek. They work for free on Star Trek. They don't, you know, it's just a TV series, but they don't have a paycheck.
Kirk didn't get paid?
No, they never got paid any money.
Wow.
It was all for free.
Communists. They were trying to turn us into communists.
It's all for free. But they
Yeah.
did it because they were passionate about it and they
Right.
believed in it so much. And so there's things that people can still do if they're passionate about those things. And you know, it's just work, but you don't ask for a paycheck.
Right. If there was a base paycheck for the whole country, just a base paycheck based on, I wonder if 200 grand is even possible. What is $200,000 times 333 million? Check that out, Jamie. What's
And only 190 million are adults. 190 million adults.
right? That's right. Let's be generous. Let's make it 200 million adults.
Yeah.
So 200 million times 200,000 is what?
So it'd be 2 times 2 is 4. Add all the zeros from the 200,000 onto the 4 million.
Right. But what is that in like the word? Is it trillions?
200,000.
200,000 times 200 million.
200 million's got 8 zeros. Shit.
So 6 zeros.
I'll just do it once.
6 zeros is a billion. 9 zeros is no, 6 zeros a million. 9 zeros is a billion.
It's giving me 4E13, so it's 4 13 zeros. Let me see what that looks like.
13 zeros? 4 times 13 zeros? It's a lot of money, folks.
Yeah.
Gonna have to drain these oligarchs.
Well,
Tax the rich.
right. What was the numbers?
200,000 times 200 million.
40 billion? That doesn't sound right.
That
right?
is going to be.
It's either 40 billion or 400 billion. That
It's $40 billion.
40 billion, that's
Yeah,
it?
that's
sounds
it.
reasonable.
That's
Okay,
reasonable. 40
that's
billion.
so reasonable.
Yeah.
That's so reasonable.
That's less than the military-industrial complex budget for the year.
100%. Imagine that, folks. I just want you to think about that. We could give 200 million people $200,000 a year. That's a good amount of money.
Yeah.
$200,000 is nice. You can live in a nice house,
Yep.
go on vacation, you can eat well.
Yeah.
$200,000.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Not bad at all. And if you did that, you could also still work. You could also still make money. But everybody, if we just elevated every adult in this country to that amount of money,
Yeah.
and everyone, you're talking communist. No, I'm talking. Everything's going to be automated, folks.
Yeah.
And there should be some sort of a tax on the result that this has on society, particularly when. If everything is automated, the people who run the automation and they're going to be making staggering amounts of money.
Yeah.
So if a tax of $40 billion a year to keep everybody happy, keep everybody from going fucking crazy, I mean, that might be, it sounds crazy. Because it goes against human instincts, right? Like human nature is.
It goes against our programming and what we've
Yes.
been programmed to believe is correct.
And is that because we were designed to mine for gold?
That's
We were
right.
Designed to work hard, right?
Designed to work hard, man.
Because it's kind of in our head that we have to work hard.
Listen, we're so programmed to believe what happened in ancient times that we believe the government is in control of us when we're in control of the government.
Right.
We allow them to tell us what to do when we should be telling them what to do and what we want. But we sit back and allow them to put rules in place, laws on us, and even lock us up and do things to us. And there's nothing we can do about it. But people think there's nothing we can do. There is something we can do. We've given up our power. We've relinquished our power to an outside source. Because of
Yes.
divide and conquer, it allows it to work. Once we realize that divide and conquer is just a distraction, that we should coordinate together and organize, then we can take back control of this planet.
Yeah, and this idea of the government being in control of you is literally how it works with every single country in the world. It's just a natural course of human nature that the people in power want more power.
Yeah.
You know, when you're selling skateboards, you want to sell more skateboards next year. You know, when you're in power, you don't want to relinquish some of your power and make it better on the people. No, you want to clamp down that power more. We had to get on Facebook and stop these people from tweeting about things or posting about things.
Yeah.
You know, we have to. This has become a problem. Let's put pressure on this company to censor certain voices on YouTube.
Exactly.
And that's the shit that happens. That's really what happens because they're not acting in the best interests of humanity. They're acting in their best interest, which is what every industry does when it's just trying to make money.
Exactly. Well, the United States is a company. It's a corporation.
Right.
and so they're acting like a corporation.
That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
I agree with you too about this UAP thing, UFO, UAP.
Yeah.
Many people have said this, but I'll repeat it, that there's something about them doing it always near where military bases are
Yes.
too that's super suspicious.
Come on. I mean, listen, to me, what's going to happen, or what potentially could happen, another Gulf of Tonkin incident. You know, the incident that created the Vietnamese War, they lied about an attack at the Gulf of Tonkin
False flag.
to create the
Yeah.
Vietnamese War. Yeah, exactly. So all of a sudden, you see one of these UAPs, they're going to call it one of these not ours. We don't know whose it is, and then it attacks a Navy vessel.
Yep.
And now they've got the right to say, we need $10 trillion a year, whatever the number is, to create these
Go
weapons.
after Iran.
Yeah, right, whatever. And
Yeah,
then,
something.
and generates more money.
Yeah.
So, you know, could this be why the formation of the Space Force is here, so that they can find a way to channel money into something else, where these private corporations can create these black budget projects that we've approved because we're afraid we're going to be attacked by aliens now, and then they take that money and they develop these projects that never see the light of day, and they all chop up the money behind the scenes.
Yeah. That's the reality of the world we live in, folks. And if you're clinging on to this left versus right, these culture war arguments, you are getting caught up in their bullshit game. Most people want the same thing. They want to be healthy. They want their family to be healthy and happy. They want to have a pursuit that they enjoy. They want to enjoy their community, enjoy their loved ones. That's what most people want. Most people want the same thing.
Yep.
Most of the shit that you're seeing has all been stirred up by foreign governments and special interest groups and a bunch of shit. And if you're online, they're spoon feeding it to you. If you're online and you're engaging on social media, they're shoving that down your throat.
Gaslighting every day.
Gaslighting you every day. And it's more and more obvious now than it's ever been before, because people at least are aware of it. They know what's going on, but it's shocking how much of it is going on, and it's allowing us to fight with each other while all this shit is going on behind the scenes, and all these hundreds of billions of dollars. I mean, we talked about $40 billion a year.
Yeah.
What is the amount of money we spent so far in Ukraine? What's they continue to raise it, right? They just approved a new batch of money that's headed over there.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's insane amounts of money.
Numbers are incredible.
Yeah,
and we have infrastructure falling apart here.
Yeah.
People I just came from LA a few weeks ago. People on the streets of LA.
Okay.
You know.
So Congress passed 5 bills appropriating $175 billion in response to Russia's February 22 invasion of Ukraine. So this is of May 9th of 2024, which is the most recent. So $175 billion. That could have solved all poverty in America.
Yeah.
Literally solved poverty.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
If poverty and crime are our number one problem in this country, which I would say they are,
Yeah.
that would solve our number one problem.
The crime is a side effect
100%
of the poverty.
Yes. And you know, I always said this: if Halliburton can get these no-bid contracts to clean up Iraq after we bomb it, and it's for profit, right? So they make a lot of money doing that. And how about a no-bid contract to clean up terrible neighborhoods?
Exactly.
A no-bid contract or a no-bid contract rather to develop community programs, and they'll be funded through the state. You'll make a ton of money. And you can do this, and also you'll have a ripple effect. You'll have less crime. You'll have more people that are out there in the workforce. You have more people that are being productive. More people that are inventing things and creating music and culture and art and all kinds of other things that people like to do when they're not getting locked up in fucking jail.
Exactly.
And then you just have to figure out a way to get off the grip of the military, or the rather prison industrial complex, which has a vested interest in keeping people locked up, because that's what the idea that we let that happen.
I know.
We let it be profitable to put people in fucking jail, and then we let the prison guards actively campaign to make sure that certain laws stay in place so that people keep getting locked up for nonviolent crimes.
Yeah, 40% of the people that are locked up in America are locked up on victimless crimes.
Yeah.
They only hurt themselves.
It's so nuts.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that's generated by private prisons, that should be zero. It should be $0.
Right.
There should be no incentive to put people in a cage.
Yeah, you can't have capitalism in everything. Capitalism has to be broken into pieces. You can't have it in medicine, healthcare, prison systems, right?
Imagine if that was the way with the fire department.
Oh, man.
Imagine if you had to pay to get your house put out. Right?
Wild.
That's the one thing that we exist, that we rather accept, universally, that we pay for.
Yeah.
It's a socialist idea. The fire department is paid for by the state, and we need fire department people. We need everybody well trained and all the equipment to be working perfectly.
Exactly.
We all agree to that. Why? Because it's a real dilemma.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's logic.
So's poverty.
Yeah.
so's crime.
Yeah, and mental health.
And mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Most people on the street are mentally ill.
and giving kids guidance, having community programs and having education programs and giving people like an avenue where they can get out from where they are and see a path to success so they don't feel despair.
Yeah.
They have a possibility
Yeah.
and show and have it be run by people who've already made it through. Say, I can help you just like you could teach someone how to play piano
Yeah.
or you could teach someone how to do karate. You can teach people how to live life.
That's right.
Yeah, and it costs a lot less
Yeah.
than what it's costing in Ukraine. And how much would it benefit our economy? How much would it benefit our culture, our society? How much more would get done if there was less crime? A lot more.
lot.
And then those people have all, instead of being criminals, now they're contributors.
Yeah.
There's enough for everybody.
And as civilization grows the way it should grow.
Yes, the way
in
it
the
should
right
grow.
direction.
The
Yeah.
problem is it's been captured. It's
Yeah.
been captured by elites that want to keep draining money. And they keep draining money and using it for their own needs and their own means. And it's
Yeah.
it's
That's what
terrifying.
That's why I call it polytricks. Polytricks, that's what it's called. Yeah.
We made a pretty
Oh.
bad math error.
Okay, what we got? Oh, 40 trillion.
40
Okay.
trillion.
Thank
Oh,
you,
40
sir.
billion.
Thank
That's
you for
much more of an
correcting
issue.
that. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I retrain we're fucked. We're never going to have enough money to fix this problem. I forgot what I
No.
said.
They
So what
they
is
just
our
print the money.
GDP? What is our Yeah, but that's a problem too because
Yeah,
that
no.
creates inflation.
Creates inflation,
What's our
yeah.
GDP? Boy, there's a big difference between 40 trillion and 40 billion. How many people are yelling at their
That's
computer?
what I got.
You fucking idiots.
I worked backwards from one of the things we did. Says $875. Like, wait, that is not enough to
Yeah.
get everybody out of here.
That's hilarious.
GDP increased in 2023 to 27.36 trillion.
That's our GDP every year?
Yeah.
Oh, so we don't even have enough money
Yeah.
because
We're
it would
still
take
short.
double our GDP.
That's the 200K. If you want to go to 200K.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you have to give people. It's only 200 million people. It's not even everybody.
Right. That's
Wow.
4,000.
So we're
bucks a week.
fucked. Back to we're fucked.
You just cut it down to.
Cut it in half. You could do it.
If you do it, if you
Yeah,
cut
but
it,
even then.
if you have it like about $80,000, and then let people work to earn their own money and other things.
Yeah,
side
200
hustles,
grand was a little
small
lofty.
businesses. Yeah.
Okay, so if it was 40 trillion, you could get it down to 15 trillion. That's still most of the money we make. That's still a lot.
It's going to increase though significantly in the next 10 years because of the AI.
Right.
Yeah, all the chips and robots. When a company can lay off, like Amazon, lay off 1,000 people and replace them with 1,000 robots,
Right.
their profit margin goes up significantly within the first 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, what, if anything, is being done to provide a safety net? Because you can't give people $200 a week.
Right.
You know, whatever it is, it's got to be a significant amount of money to actually get by.
Yeah.
Whatever that number is, whatever we decide that number is. The number could be less if things are covered, like if AI becomes so efficient at creating power. We have it in our head that power must be paid for.
Yeah.
But if AI becomes so efficient and eliminates jobs that we decide that we're going to nationalize all of our power, and then we'll look at power the same way we look at the fire department.
Right.
And we set it up as a socialist power system, which is not the worst idea in the world if you consider that most power is being generated by the use of natural resources, which really belong to the earth. And like that individuals are pulling these out and profiting from them wildly, especially when they're doing like offshore oil drills. Like, who owns that spot?
Yeah, I know.
How are you able to just suck all that oil and make billions of dollars out of the ground that we all live on? Like,
Right.
it seems like that should be everybody's.
Right.
But
I
then
think
you
that-
lose the incentive for profit that allows you to go dig.
True.
And
You lose the incentive. Yeah, I think that everything is going to move. Not everything, but a lot of power is going to move towards hydrogen. That's the big new push. The Navy has vessels now that run off of hydrogen, so they never have to go refuel.
Do you know that Bob Lazar made a hydrogen Corvette in like 1990?
Wow, incredible.
That's psycho.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he was such a freak.
Wow.
Oh, he is such a freak. But I love that dude. I'm
He's great.
fascinated by him, and I don't know if he's telling the truth, but
Yeah.
boy, I hope he does. He is. But you know, one of the crazy stories about him was in the Los Alamos Labs days. When he was living there in New Mexico, he developed a rocket-powered Honda. So he put a jet engine on a fucking Honda.
Wow. A lot of time on his hands there.
Well, he's just a genius.
Yeah, he's a genius. He's an absolute genius. Look, he talked about Element 115 before we discovered Element 115.
Yes.
So that's what sold me on him.
Well, he also has never really varied from his story.
Yeah.
And to tell a story for more than 30 years and tell the exact same story is pretty strange.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also didn't really profit off of it.
No,
It's
he
not
didn't.
like a thing that he's like selling Bob Lazar t-shirts and, you know, Bob Lazar was right, baseball hats and constantly going on podcasts.
Yo,
No,
what's
here's
good,
my
Gathala?
podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't even know if he's done another one.
I don't know. I know he got a lot of hell for it.
Yeah.
Why are they talking about Hitler?
Come back on again, but
Talking
he's-
about everything.
He's working on things. Well, during the Jeremy Corbell documentary, the FBI raided him.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
It's insane. Why?
And he
If he's-
thinks that they believe that he has a stable version of Element 115, that he has a sample of it
Wow.
somewhere. Yeah, and so they went. He thinks that's what they went looking for.
They'd love to get their hands on that because
Right.
the decay rate's so fast.
Well, the video that George Knapp had, there's a video that George Knapp had from a long time ago where he was demonstrating with George Knapp how this element, when bombarded with radioactivity, can distort gravity. And he had some experiment that they did that we could show with light, and I don't exactly remember what the parameters of the experiment were, but that thing is one of the things that convinced George Knapp that maybe he's telling the truth, and this whole thing is crazy. And then when you see like these images where it shows these crafts behaving as he described, that this gravity projection generator, or whatever it is, this gravity generator, whatever this thing is, they weren't exactly sure how to, because they, at least back then in '89, but that you would turn towards where you wanted to go sideways. And that's how it would travel.
Wow.
And they saw there's videos of these crafts doing that, of
same
rotating.
thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
By fighter jets. So fighter jets are locked in on them with these high-speed sensors, and they're locking in. And there's like a video where they go, finally, I got it locked in.
Right.
And they're like, look at it go.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. See if you can find that video, because that video is one of my favorites. Because the pilots are so genuinely excited about this.
That
When they
tic-tac?
finally lock it in, I think that's the Go Fast.
Go fast.
The
one?
Go
Yeah.
Fast one.
Okay.
And they're like, whoo, we
Yeah.
got it. We got it locked in. Like, what the fuck is this
Crazy.
thing?
Have you researched any of the Vimanas from the ancient text?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very, very fascinating,
Yeah,
because they, in the Bhagavad Gita, in what, is this the one?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is it. And in the Mahabharata, they talk about these flying crafts. Like, what is this? What you're about to hear is actually U.S. fighter pilots. Powerful Raytheon pod display. How come I'm not hearing any voices? Oh, there it goes.
Yep.
There it goes. Oh, there's just explaining how the display works. This Raytheon display, and how these fighter jets are using this to try to lock in on this thing. So look how it zooms in.
Yeah.
They see it pass by. It's going so fast they're trying to lock in on it, but they're having a hard time. So they keep adjusting, and they're trying to get their sensors.
Boom.
So they got it.
Yeah.
So now they're excited.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at that fly.
Yeah,
What
it's
is
crazy.
that? Like, what the fuck is that?
That's right. It's wild, man.
What is that?
Like I said, I just see these things and I go back to the the Vimanas. They ran on a ferrofluid vortex engine.
That's how it was described?
Yeah, ferrofluid. So they had liquid mercury.
Ferrofluid?
Ferrofluid, which is liquid metal. And so they put liquid metal inside
How do you spell that?
F-E-R-R-O, ferro.
We used to have a ferrofluid lamp.
Yeah. there you go.
Really?
Remember? I bought you that one thing. You like put a magnet on it, and the
Oh yeah, where is that? Is that in storage?
probably in storage somewhere.
So they use a so you put, if you take a torus,
We
right?
need a new one, Jamie. Order us a new one.
If you take a torus and you put a ferrofluid like mercury inside of it, and you magnetize the torus in a way that creates this rotation, this RPM of the mercury moving around that field, and you get it up to about 60,000 RPMs, and then you actually pressurize the torus to about 250,000 atmospheres. And you electrify it, you get anti-gravity properties.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So you can create a anti-gravity flying device utilizing that technique, and this is really, well known.
And how do they describe it in the text?
In the text, they talk about the fact that it uses mercury in a rotating disc.
Really?
And then they have some of the, the flight plans and some of the layout of actually the plans of the actual ship itself, one of the ships. And so from that, you can almost hypothesize or backward engineer what it might have been able to do. And in the text, it says they used to take a complement of men to many worlds. So this is incredible technology.
A complement of men to many worlds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you think that the government has access to something similar to that?
Oh, I believe so, 1,000%. I believe they've been backwards engineering information from ancient texts and of course any artifacts that they found from anywhere in the world. They might have even gotten information from Saddam Hussein's museum, because that's the first place we went in the Gulf after the whole situation happened with wanting to go take him out of power and kill him. They went straight to the museum.
So Jamie just pulled this up. It says flying with ferrofluids. To solve this problem, L. Brad King, Ron and Elaine Starr, professor in space systems at Michigan Tech, is creating a new kind of microthruster that assembles itself out of its own propellant when excited by a magnetic field. The tiny thruster requires no fragile needles and is essentially indestructible. We're working with unique material called ionic fluid ferrofluid, King says, explaining that it's both magnetic and ionic, a liquid salt. When we put a magnet underneath a small pool of ferrofluid, it turns into a beautiful hedgehog structure of aligned peaks. When we apply a strong electric field to that array of peaks, each one emits an individual microjet of ions.
Yep,
Whoa.
exactly. You have to electrify it. Once you electrify it, you create this electromagnetic activity.
This is what it looks like in...
Yeah, that's just on 2 screws. I think it's just transferring
They're just giving
itself,
just giving you how it transfers itself.
Wow. And so you could use that as something that could propel a device.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
And you don't get to reduce the gravity, the weight of an object to 0, but you significantly reduce the weight of an object.
And the fact that they figured this out and that is it in the Mahabharata or the Bhagavad Gita?
And the Mahabharata.
Wow.
And it also, I think, was one account in the Vedas.
Like, what is the definition? Like, what's the explanation for how they figured that out? Like, help me out. Help me out. How the fuck?
They say they have flying cities. They said they say they have flying cities, and these cities would go to battle sometimes against each other in the sky.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Sounds like big ass fucking
massive objects
ships
flying around.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and how do they explain that away?
Like
That's what I want to
motherships.
know. How do you explain that away?
How do you explain somebody thousands of years ago sitting down to write a sci-fi epic?
Well, not just that. But
Godzilla.
writing about a process.
Oh yeah.
Of creating this field that now has been documented all these thousands of years later.
It works now.
Like, how did you figure that out? Like, what were you guys doing?
Yeah, this happens over and over again in text. In the Emerald
They're talking
Tablets,
about
which is book I wrote,
they're talking about the history of ancient civilization and how we're all oppressed, and you know what I'm saying? I had a bunch of theories on, like, they talk about, and it shows, right? There's proof of it apparently, that these ancient civilians were way far more advanced than we are now. And right, so my theory is that, right, I'm 29, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, they could suppress so much information from me. Like, these guys are 53 and 56, and they still probably, right? I don't know. They could be in on it. Who knows? I don't give a fuck. They still seem to not know what the fuck is going on, right? So what the fuck do I know? My theory, though, is that if there has been this advanced civilization and it's out there, right, they could be literally, whoever has this knowledge, or, you know what I'm saying, all of this in control, they could be literally be withholding information, right, through media control and all this bullshit, all these distractions with war and famine and poverty and, you know, bills and all these bullshit, because it's like everyone comes to this understanding of what the fuck is the point of all of this, right? This meaning of life, but yet we see advancement in science and what's it called, and in health and all these other things like medicine, you know what I'm saying? And it's like back then they seem to have the solution to a lot of these things. And it's like now it's more like gatekept in a way, like why? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so anyways, they're talking about all of that. They're talking about, you know what I'm saying? Like the beginning of the universe, money is why, right? So that was one of the things that they mentioned, right? Around their time, right? When they were younger, right? These both guys are in their 50s. They mentioned that it was like back then, if you would have said that they're going to war and they're doing all of these things for money, you would have been looked at as a nut job. You would have been if you would have talked about, you know what I'm saying, big pharma and all these things, they're doing fucking corrupted shit. Oh, they wouldn't do any of that. They would go to jail. Like, that's their train of thought. Like, you know, but now over time, right, there's been some type of awakening, right? Again, I feel personally like there is so much more that we are kept away from that is out there. And it's like, what do? You know what I'm saying? Can I just awaken right now? Just my fucking, just astral project my body? You know, like somebody somewhere benefits financially from the gatekeeping. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Like I was, not too long ago, I was learning on the education system in Western society or in general, how it was founded. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't control the adults back then to do their bidding or to, you know what I'm saying, be slaves for them or to farm things or to go to war or to work for them. So they created the education system and founded it in a way to attack the children and have them be put through this process. And if you don't put your kid through education, you're a bad parent, and your parent and your kids get taken away from you, get put into the government, now they become a prisoner of the government. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you're forced to put your kids through this type of system where they're in a sense creating workers, right? And that's the whole point of it. It was to create workers. It wasn't much to create a society of thinkers, but a society of slaves in a way, or workers, people that will do your bidding without failure. You know what I'm saying? And if you're failing or if you're not doing things properly, you're considered a failure. Blah 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 blah. Right? These are just it was all military shit. The way military recruitment camps out a high school is crazy. Absolute, yo, for real, bro. Every time, like what you just said there blows my mind, right? Because I don't understand that either. I remember in high school, you will have people from the military or the army come to gym class. You know what I'm saying? Or lunchtime, or these other times where we're out of class in a way, and try to recruit kids. Like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that just shows how kind of fucked things are, how controlled things are in a way where they're putting people at risk and having these wars and these unnecessary unnecessary acts of violence and all these things that are prohibiting us as a species to advance in a way. You know what I'm saying? It's exactly how they wanted it back then. They didn't want a society of innovators or thinkers or people that can do things on their own. You know what I'm saying? They wanted a society of people that can rely on the government or the big the people that are in power somewhat. And it's like, when are we gonna wake up, like, as a whole in society, like in general? Like, when are we gonna awaken? Like, we've been so brainwashed and so like fucked over that it's like no one really stands up for themselves. Look at jobs. They pay most jobs, right? You get paid the least amount of money, and they expect you to do everything and above and beyond. And if you've been there for a long time and you ask for a raise, you're kind of either looked at as, you know what I'm saying, someone that is being is being too much for that job or whatever, or they get rid of you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like they don't want you to know your worth in a way, you know? A lot of, from also what I've learned with the whole education system, right? All of this applies most to like the public schools and stuff like that. I've learned that there's been a lot of people that have put their kids through private school to avoid these type of things. So you're putting your kids through private schools, to be the masters of these people that are going through the public schools and the public education. And like it's a huge, it's a fucking rabbit hole that is just so fucked up. Like right around graduation time, when it's time for the seniors to be making big decisions about their futures. Yeah, right, exactly. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I feel like all of that is, personally, I feel like all of that is obviously, right? It doesn't take a fucking scientist to come up with this conclusion. It's all for control. It's all for what you just said, money. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, but it hinders us as a species, bro, because it's like you have humans, right? In general, what a human is, their capacity of greatness, if given the proper support, given the proper tools and systems, they can be absolutely like you can't even fathom how amazing of a human being you can create just by that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like they hinder that to a selected few. You know what I'm saying? And then everyone else is nothing. It's trash, like, or whatever. Like, you're just a speck of dust. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, why, dude? I went to both and public. You went to both public and private schools and saw the difference. Okay, so I'm glad that, you know what I'm saying, you understand like the different type of treatments, right? Like I wouldn't know. I don't know the experience of a private school. I only know the experience of a public school. But even then, I didn't really get to be in that too much because of my family issues that I was dealing with, where there was not much income. So I put myself through the workforce at an earlier age and kind of put myself through that, and I didn't have the support system. I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the resources. I had family fighting amongst family over either money or trauma or drama bars, you know what I'm saying? And it was kind of hard to pave my way through, but I made it all right, you know what I'm saying? I feel like I've gotten a understanding of what my worth is, you know what I'm saying, and what I'm trying to bring to, I don't know, to a kid if I ever have one, you know what I'm saying, or something like that. Like I'm still, you know, I'm still working within me, like, you know what I'm saying, I still have a lot of work to do, but not to stray away. But yeah, this is the whole conversation they're having, and it's like inspiring a lot of thoughts in me about how fucked up it is, how fucked up this world is. But it also is allowing me to see how amazing it could be, and I just want to be part of that evolution. You know what I'm saying? I believe humans can evolve further beyond than where we're currently at as a species. It makes no sense that we're going back in time because of all this bullshit, all this drama, all this war, all this money. It's literally stunting. It's stutting. I don't know how to pronounce that word, but it's stopping our growth. You know what I'm saying? To be way better than we are. Like, you know, and it's sad to me. It fucks me up mentally, spiritually, emotionally. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much more that we could be doing instead of fighting each other. You know what I'm saying? And they put people, right? They put people in predicaments of war where you're fighting another individual that you don't even know. You don't even know why you're fighting them majority of the time. You know what I'm saying? They brainwash you to such a point where you're just killing random families, random people, innocent bystanders. You know what I'm saying? That probably have nothing to do with what the fuck is going on. And it's like, how could you be so brain dead, so brainwashed to support acts like this? You know what I'm saying? Like, even the whole thing with so much conspiracy behind it, like, that makes sense. you know, and it's sad to me. And the reason why they're doing that is because they don't have a great life, right? They target the people that are minorities or people that are about that type of fucking psychopaths, you know what I'm saying? But mainly minorities, people that are struggling, people that they know have had a bad upbringing in a way, you know what I'm saying? That are struggling financially, that don't have a stable what's it called, stable homes and shit like that. And those are the ones that join out of desperation to come out of it with something better than what they had, but they come out of it majority of the time even worse. There are veterans that barely get any help, you know what I'm saying? There are people that come out of it with even worse mental, you know what I'm saying, mental issues. Like it doesn't pay for you to go into these type of fields to think that you're gonna come out of it better than you were before. You come out of it worse. I know a lot of people that were in the army. I have a lot of friends that were or are in the army, and they fucking hated the experience. What they talk about the most is the unity, the brothership, you know what I'm saying, and all of that, which in a way that's what we are as a human species, bro. We're about unity. You know what I'm saying? Majority of the time, all we want is to stop world hunger, to stop like wars, to stop all of this shit. But then you have the controlled people that are trying to stop media. I mean, that are controlled by media. Wait, what am I saying? Then you have people that are in control, that are using media to kind of drive their narrative of this is why we need to do this. Like they're enemies, putting blame on each other just to keep money in their fucking greedy ass pockets. Like, and it's like, fuck everyone else. Like, what the fuck, dude? It's sad, it's sick, it's diabolical, it's insanity, it's fucking psychopathic. Like, whatever word out there that you can think of, it's that, bro. Like, it's fucked up, you know what I'm saying? I disagree that this is humanity's peak. I don't agree to that whatsoever. I don't buy to that to that type of mindset. Like, it doesn't make sense to me, bro. It doesn't make sense to me, like, you know. Anyways, I get passionate about this because it hurts, man. And it hurts to see so many people fucked up and struggling, and then knowing and learning more about the bullshit that we're living in. Like, that's really why it gets me so fucking passionate. Well, I think talking about it more and raising the next generation to be more altruistic will help. Okay, I do see that. I do agree with that. Yeah, recruiters love low income and low GPA kids. Of course, they're the most impressionable and easy to recruit, bro. And notice, I know also people in the army that are recruiters, right? That the more people that they recruit, the more they get paid. So they're getting an incentive to recruit these people. They don't even give a fuck about their life. They don't even give a fuck about what they're going through, what they're gonna experience, how much they already hate the army. They're just thinking about, you know what? I can get these people that I know into the army and it's gonna make me a few extra $1,000. Sure. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. Like, and it's just the society we live in that is ruled by money in a sense. Money is not a problem. It's the way we use it, right? And I've heard that from other people that have the money, right? Money is not the problem. Absolutely not. It's literally how we use it and how we give it power, in a sense. We're creatures of power, literally. Whatever we give power to or attention to, we're giving it power, like, in a sense. Like, you know, Like, the more you buy into an idea, the more you buy something, the more attention it gets, the more power it gets, the more da 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 da. Like, it's a whole like rabbit hole of, like, if we all in the collective gave power to the idea of becoming a better species and society in general, I truly do feel like we would be not only unstoppable, but like just straight pure and driven with love. Like, I would hope, bro. You know what I'm saying? Empathy and all of this stuff, it's really hard to come by. Like, I mean, not very hard, but shit. Media doesn't make it easy, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Talks about using cymatic frequencies and light waves to create
Anyways.
manifest solid matter. And what happened about 4 years ago in a laboratory, they used cymatic frequencies and photons to create solid matter out of nothing. Just happened about 4 years ago.
What did they create?
They just create a few particles, But the fact that we can do it, but it was already in ancient text.
Wow.
So now
we
know
can
how
do
to-
it on a very small scale,
Very small
just
scale.
like we can create element 115 with a collider.
Correct.
Same kind of thing, and
Same
it's a
thing.
very small, unstable version of element 115 that only exists for a fraction of a second, but
Yeah.
they can measure it.
Right.
So, but if with sufficiently advanced technology, you could create it and then form a stable version of that.
Right. Imagine being able to build an entire city by manifesting the matter needed to build the city instead of harvesting the city from rock
3D print the city
with
with
nanobots.
ions.
You would use
Nanobots.
nanobots to build the whole city. It would manifest as it went.
And you could also use that to repair things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you would never have to have like construction again. Everything would be self-replicable.
Correct.
Self-repairable.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, like, of course, if you just scale up, just think about what we can do now
Yeah.
and keep going, make
That's
it
it.
much better and much more efficient.
We're talking about programmable matter now. Programmable matter.
And what you were saying about DNA, the fact that you can encode into DNA and that you could actually hold information in DNA.
Yeah. Microsoft has created the very first DNA hard drive. So it's a molecular hard drive that works on technology that's hardware and also biological software. And so a hard drive the size of my cell phone can store an enormous amount of petabytes of data. So things like teleportation are going to be possible in the near future. We've already teleported, I think, a couple of particles from Earth to the space station, right? But what's stopping us from teleporting a human being? Understanding and knowing the location of every atom and the rotation and spin rate of every atom. That's a lot of information, a lot of storage space. Now with DNA hard drives, the storage space problem goes away. We'll be able to teleport biological beings or objects, big objects, into space or wherever we want on the planet.
Like Star Trek.
Like Star Trek.
Who's going to be the first guy to get beamed up?
Somebody's going to be a real guinea pig for that one.
Yeah, we're going to have to find some pedophiles.
Because when you teleport...
we're gonna have to find some better.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So-
a bit of an issue.
teleport. I mean, you're reborn again instantly in the other location, but it's a facsimile of you. Anytime you teleport, even the molecules that we teleport now, the original version, the original molecule or the starting matter, it's destroyed, and the data is then transmitted, and then it's reformulated. So a teleportation is actually the death of you and the reformation of you.
Maybe they could do a better job, like an Instagram filter. You know, maybe you could just like tone a few things up, clean up a little bit,
Get rid of some scars or whatever.
get a little
yeah.
some body fat.
Right.
Yeah, maybe they can make a better version of you, but
That's
you have to be
possible.
willing to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe that's hell. Maybe you come back and you have no soul.
Well,
Like
the
maybe
tra-
when you
the tra-
teleport, your soul doesn't go with
Well,
you.
they're transmitting your consciousness, so everything is saved. All your
Right.
information is saved. And we know that was done also in ancient times. Thoth talks in the Emerald Tablets about being able to go into these halls of Amenti where he had rejuvenation chambers, which is what I believe is the Serapeum in Saqqara. And he would go into these gigantic stone boxes, and he would then transfer his consciousness from his body into another body. And he would leave the body that he left inside of one of those gigantic boxes, one of those gigantic diorite stone boxes for 100 years while it recharged itself and rejuvenated. While he said he walks amongst men, but unlike a man.
What?
Yeah, and he would do this for eons. He would transfer from body to body, not bodies he stole, bodies he created that he created himself through probably some advanced form of stem cell technology. And he would walk amongst men, but unlike a man. And he was known all around the planet because of this. The guy lived according to the ancient Egyptians, he ruled over them for 16,000 years, one person.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
So is this those ancient texts, like the ancient hieroglyphs that show kings going back like 30,000 years?
Well, that's the Sumerian Kings list located in the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, England. I was there myself in person to check out this stonework, and it's an incredible tablet that talks about the reigns of kings.
Yeah.
Some kings ruled for 28,800 years, 14,000 years. I mean, 20,000. If the numbers are insane.
These are not Egyptian? This is
No, not Egyptian. These are Anunnaki. This is pre-flood. This is antediluvial. And then when the flood comes, it talks about, and then the flood swept over the land. After the flood happens, then they descend kingship from heaven back down to humans, and then the reigns of humans begin. But they're not really full humans. They're demigods. They're half human, half Anunnaki. And then their lifespans are like, much shorter because their ruling times are only like 1,000 years and 800 years and 700 years, and it starts to go down,
which is why
down.
like Noah was 600 years old.
Right, exactly.
So these tablets, what are they called again?
You're talking about the Sumerian Kings list.
Can you show me that, Jamie?
Yeah.
I want to see what that looks like.
It's a giant four-sided tablet located in the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, England. Yeah.
And so, what exactly does it say? Like,
it gives you
This is it right here?
That's it right there. Those are all four sides.
And how old is this?
Oh, this is, they're saying 6,000, but
Make it bigger, Jamie.
believe me, it's much older than that.
I just want to look at it.
This is a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy over tens of thousands of years, in my opinion. But this text gives the reigns of kings in shars, S-H-A-R. A shar is 3,600 years. So one shar would be 3,600. See, 241,000 years of rule.
Whoa.
On that stone right there.
The Sumerian Kings list.
Yeah.
Now, if this is right, if this is all true, what a mind-blowing idea.
Yeah.
That humans have been around, that were engineered hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that this is the reason why there's this bizarre shift between lower primates and us, which you don't see in any other animal.
Right.
There's nothing like it.
No.
There's nothing like us.
Look, we have 46 chromosomes, right?
Right.
What happens
at 48?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They discovered that chromosome number 2 was taken out. They call it an artificial mutation. They mean geneticists. Fused together and 2 telomere caps put on. 1 telomere cap on each side. Who in the world took chromosome number 2 out, fused it together, and put telomere caps on it? And they say that it happened as an estimated 200,000 years ago, right at the time that the Sumerian tablets say they decided to make mankind to do the labor. There's no coincidence that the tablets are aligning with modern science. And this means that a couple things. The first thing, it means that we were genetically modified. The second thing that it means is the telomere caps limit our lifespan to about 120 years max, according to Harvard scientists. Now, in the Bible, what does it say? It says that my seed shall not abide in man forever. His years shall be 120. That was taken from the Sumerian tablets, even further back than that. Thousands of years before the Bible was written, when Yahweh, a.k.a. Enlil, shows back up, sees the human beings building a tower into the heavens, copying a tower that they themselves had built. It pissed him off, and he said, whatever their hearts decide to do, they shall achieve it. My seed shall not abide in man. His years will be 120. And then he did a genetic modification at that point, I believe, with the telomeres. And he spread mankind out around the planet, and he confused their languages. He had us speaking different languages, so we couldn't collaborate. Now we're in competition, no collaboration. Divide and conquer.
And there's the Tower of Babel.
That's it.
I think it's interesting that most military people say the best part of the experience is the brotherhood that they get to be part of. I feel like the wider society has become so individualistic that spaces like that with close bonds and camaraderie is becoming so rare. Like, if you have a space like that in your life, it's truly a blessing, because society is not built to facilitate building communities anymore. Bro, damn, Bella, okay, okay, you got it, bro. Nah, that was absolutely very beautifully said. I have nothing to say about that. I agree. I agree that if you're in an environment like that, it is a beautiful thing because you don't see that anymore, man. Like it's very rare, and it's very limited. It's very secluded, like, in a way, right? It's kind of, that's also one thing that's gatekept in a way. Like, not many people can enjoy that type of environment at all. It's sad, you know, but I feel like that's how we evolve. If we can find a way to be all of that and more. Like, damn, that was Agatha, bro. The way you wrote that, absolutely beautiful. Okay, I love seeing that side of you, though. Hold on, it's kind of cool. I fuck with that. Oh, you got me flustered over here. What the fuck?
Done just to keep us from rising.
Yes. We were advancing too fast, and he had to slow us down. If we shorten their lifespan, then they won't have enough time. By the time they realize who they are and what power they have, they'll be dead. And see, that's what's happened to us.
So if the Anunnaki are real and Nibiru is real, and Nibiru is on an elliptical cycle that comes between, it's like Mars and Jupiter, right? Somewhere around there, like.
Well, it's further out now. It's over time. Its orbit has been pushed out, and that's just one planet that these Anunnaki people come from. They come from many planets.
But do you think that this planet Nibiru, that's on an elliptical orbit, if it's coming every 3,600 years, wouldn't there be some sort of documentation 3,600 years ago, at the very least?
Well, you have to look for geological disasters as marker points. This object, this Nibiru planet, which is mentioned, by the way, in the Enuma Elish, it's not a fabricated name, just so people know that's a real name. In the Enuma Elish, the oldest version of the Enuma Elish, it says Nibiru as one of the planets. But you look at the time frame when this thing gets close. It orbits another planet, another star. So it orbits a brown dwarf star. This brown dwarf star has the same amount of mass as our sun, but it's much smaller, right? But it generates enough heat through friction and it's orbiting planets. You can see it in 2-mass infrared mode coming out of the constellation of Leo if you go to a worldwide telescope and download the software and all of that. But the fact that modern science now admit that there's an object out there that they say orbit our sun every 4,200 years, right? And that's Corey Powell from Discovery Magazine. He's a real astronomer. Been on Fox News. He said that on Fox News. If I can find the clip, I'll send it to you. Matter of fact.
We'll find it.
Yeah, we'll find it. Yeah, Fox News. Corey Powell. And so what's happening is we are seeing evidence that there is something out there that's orbiting our sun, and that our sun is a binary star system. So we used to think that our sun, one sun in the solar system, is normal. But as they looked out into space with Hubble and now the Webb, they discovered, no, binary is more of the normal, and even trinary. And so it's like, wait a minute, if binary is normal, so they started looking for this object that gravitationally should exist, and they believe that it's out there far beyond the orbit of Pluto, and that Corey Powell says a solar system exists within our solar system. And he goes on to say, we come from there, on Fox News, which was just crazy.
So the idea, if you follow Terrence Howard's theory, is that matter comes from the sun, it moves away, coalesces into planets, it gets to a Goldilocks zone, life comes out of that, life becomes far more intelligent as time goes on, develops more capabilities, and then is also assisted by other beings that have been through this process already.
Yeah.
And then if this scales out for hundreds of millions of years, you get to a point where this Nibiru is, or billions of years, or whatever it takes for it to get all the way the fuck out.
Well, I estimate that they're about 1 million years ahead of us technologically. Now, it could
and
be...
then there's things that are millions of years ahead of them.
Oh, way ahead of them. There's things that are far, far ahead of them.
This is what's hard for us to scale out.
Yeah.
We like to think that aliens that fly in spaceships, that's the top of the food chain.
Right.
But not even close.
Yeah. Like I was saying before, I never got to it, really. There's 3 types of beings I think that exist. One is a physical corporeal being that could be what we see flying around in these UFOs. Not all of them, some of them, that visit us, that interact with us in the ancient past. Not all are little green men, but they have various different body types. The second kind that I believe is potentially multidimensional beings. Okay, that there's life in every different dimension, and Michio Kaku was famous for saying that the universe, they believe, has 11 dimensions. So that's 11 dimensions. We're only in the third. There's 4th, 5th, 6th, all the way up to 11 at least, or the universe, he says, would collapse. So if you're in a being in a higher dimension, you can see the past, present, and future all at once in the third. And if you say, that's an interesting place, I'd like to visit it, if you can actually create a phase shift in your atomic frequency to match the atomic frequency of this dimension, you can walk right in, and then you can walk right back. And then you probably have something else that's outside of this entire universe that has the capability. Maybe it is the creators of the universe itself, which is why I wrote the book, Fractal Holographic Universe. Maybe there's a creator outside of this entire universe that has a hand in creating this ancestor universe itself.
Well, it also makes sense that if you scaled intelligent life up infinitely, you're going to reach a point where you have godlike powers.
Yeah.
This being or collection of beings, this hive mind, whatever it is, it could essentially, if given 100 million years, harness the very power of the universe itself, or maybe even create the universe.
And create other universes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
absolutely.
is the ultimate mind blower. That intelligent life is the reason why this thing exists, and it creates this thing.
We're creating universes right now as human beings on this planet. 14 college kids created a video game called No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is on one DVD disc, and it has 80 quadrillion planets and unlimited life forms, and the game never ends.
We've talked about that, right? Yeah. That one's a weird one.
Yeah, you put AI in it.
Right.
Then what's going to happen?
Right. Scale up to a quantum computer.
Now all of a sudden,
And then have a virtual reality headset.
Boom.
Yeah.
The people in there, who are we? Where are we from? What is the Big Bang? When we turn the console on, that's the Big Bang for you. Yeah, Sims. The Sims are going to get AI now. They're going to be asking questions.
Right.
They're going to be creating their own software within the software and trying to build their own copy of a universe. We're not even close to base reality. We're literally living in a stacked reality. We're just one reality out of, who knows, Googles of actual realities that exist.
Do you think the simulation theory has weight?
Oh, I believe so. I wrote a book about it. That book is about the fractal holographic universe, and I believe that we're living in a simulation.
One of these books? You got a stack of them.
No,
How many books have you read? Or written, rather?
4. The one just came out today, the Fractal Holographic Universe. This is the Emerald Tablets, the Epic of Humanity, and my financial book, Woke Doesn't Mean Broke. Financial literacy book. Not the political woke either, but the real woke.
When did you start going down this road of exploring all of these interesting subjects?
Well, it was a long time ago, 1977 in Miami, Florida. We moved from New York to Miami, next to the Opa-locka Airport, living in the hood. I used to go out in the backyard. You know how it is back then. No cable TV, no cell phones, no tablets.
Yeah,
you just go outside and play. So I'm outside in the backyard playing, but I'm looking at the airplanes go over. And this one day, this plane goes over, but it's not really a plane. It clears the horizon in seconds, not minutes. It just goes straight across. I know from as a little kid, the planes take a long time to go from one point to the other. And it went straight across. And it was more like not a full size, not cigar, but not an egg, kind of in between the two, glowing,
tic-tac.
Almost like a tic-tac, glowing metal, yes. And then it came back and it stopped right over me, completely silent. About now I can estimate about 250 meters. And then it just went, pew, gone. And I ran in the house and I told my mom, hey, I can't believe what I just saw. And my mom said to me, son, back in the day, there were advanced beings that came to this planet. This is 1977.
Your mom told
my mom.
you?
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's why I dedicated the book to her. And she said they used to live on tops of mountains like in Peru and Machu Picchu, which is why one of the greatest places I ever went. I had to go there. And so I went to the library at Rainbow Park Elementary the next morning, and I told the teacher I have to go to the library inside the school, Rainbow Park, and I said I need to get all the encyclopedias on space, on aerospace. And she gave me the encyclopedias on aerospace, and that's when I started researching from that exact moment.
Wow.
And I haven't stopped since.
So you were, how old? 8?
7.
7 years old. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You just got locked in.
I got locked in. I started researching swept wing, delta wing, ballistics, intercontinental ballistics. I'm looking at submarines. I'm looking at hovercraft that existed way back then, flying discs that we had created in the military way back then. SR-71s and all this stuff, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell did I see, and I couldn't find it. But it took me down the path of technologies and advanced technologies and aerospace information, and I kind of became a quasi-aerospace historian. And that led me in further on down the line to studying, architecture and seeing a connection between the two.
And you studied at both Harvard and MIT?
Harvard was for ancient civilizations. I took a class and got a certificate in ancient civilizations. And at MIT, I took a class in applied neuroscience and got a certificate in applied neuroscience.
And are you just doing this for your own edification, just because you're interested in it?
Yeah. Right now, I'm enrolled again in MIT right now for a class in AI.
And when you first got down this road, we're talking about a time where there's no internet and there's no. You're just like trying to make sense of some things.
Just trying to make sense, man.
And this one thing, have you ever seen anything since then?
Yeah. Yes, actually, at Isetti Ranch in 2017, I believe it was. We were out there. I was out there to do a speak at this ranch in Washington State. And it's down from the basin of Mount Shasta in that
It's
area.
called the Seti Ranch?
Isetti.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Isetti, E-C-E-T-I. It's like a private kingdom in America, actually. It's a private, they've got registered as a small kingdom. They don't even have mail or anything there. It's a weird place. I had to stay in a yurt. It's really crazy out there. But I spoke there for a whole week. I had to get used to it.
I could go really in depth about this topic. Like the problem reaches into even the way our cities are built. I agree, bro. The way our cities are built are dumb as fuck. Okay, like knowing what I've been learning and seeing and shit like that. Bro, they're not aerodynamic in any way, bro. No wonder hurricanes and all these things are fucking obliterating all of these things. Earthquakes and all this stuff. Like, there's no advancement in that. Like he's just been saying, there has been advancement already. Why are we so backtracked? Why are we here? If this is available to us, right? And I know you could go into this, and I would love to hear your train of thought, bro. Like, I would be so into having conversations about this that I would even do a podcast and just have people join Discord or whatever voice chat and just talk endlessly about whatever, even memes, stupidity, whatever it be, but just generally just talk about what the fuck what are we in right now? You know what I'm saying? And how can we get out of it and be better? They need to slow down. The Sims are not that smart. They can't even feed themselves sometimes without your bro. But no, they're talking about that was funny. But I'm thinking that they were talking about adding AI to Sims and shit like that, and I'm pretty sure they'll be able to do all of that bullshit. But they need to slow down. Okay, they're getting too ahead of themselves. Man, there's so much to unpack. It's such a rabbit hole that I'm willing to go into just to figure out the truth. You know what I'm saying? If I can come out of it with the truth and I don't know, a new way of figuring all of this out and just setting our generation that comes after us up to succeed. That's all I care about. You know what I'm saying? And that's how the generations after us or before us, right? Or however you want to put it, you know what I'm saying? Our generations that we're looking up to, you know what I'm saying, should be setting it up so we should have the tools to succeed, so that we can pass that down to our next generation, and so on and so forth, and blah 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 blah. But if you're telling me we're already there, why is this slow climb such an insane thing to be in? What is the secret? just stop, bro. Like, just unveil like the reality of everything. Just stop playing fucking games, bro. Like, just allow us to be that, you know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying, figure things out properly. Like, sounds like such a process to be in, bro. You're creating more trauma. You're creating like people to think that their lives have no meaning, and that's why they're creating these, or that's why they're acting out and being so fucking destructive and insane, and don't give a fuck about anyone else's life, because you're just creating this reality that your life matters more than the next one, when all lives really do fucking matter in a whole, like in the whole spectrum of things. Like, this whole back and forth is bullshit, bro. It's just bullshit. Don't get me wrong, I understand like the the fucked up shit that has been going on and is going on even till today, but it's like, come on, bro, all of that is just petty ass. It's just petty ass drama, petty ass bullshit, bro, that is just stopping people from thinking beyond that bit of that bit of, I don't know, stupidity. You're having people stuck in such a loop. It creates idiots, bro. I'm gonna be real with you. It just creates fucking idiots, bro. Like, that only stick to that, bro. That only stick to that one thing, like, and don't let go of like the history and shit. Like, bro, don't get me wrong. History is a huge part of why we are what we are, but to weaponize history and control it to a way where you have life forms, or us species, against each other, bro, that is fucking evil, dude. That is just straight up evil. No one should have that much power.
Because nobody told me about this before I got there.
You had to stay in a yurt for a week?
Stay in a yurt for a week.
Did they have running water?
At the community bathroom.
Oh, boy. SETI?
Yeah, he said.
Oh, enlightened contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. Oh, boy. So they're just out there with no technology trying to talk to aliens?
No, just out there every night, sky watching, basically.
Really?
And the video that we
Does that
recorded.
sound like rich, crazy person's idea?
Yeah. the video that we created that night, watching those UFOs in the sky, actually made it onto an episode that I'm in on Ancient Aliens.
Oh.
Yeah.
That show's the best show to get high to.
Yeah.
You ever see Action Bronson's show where he would watch Ancient Aliens? They would just get stoned and watch Ancient Aliens? That show's crazy.
But yeah, so we recorded some crazy footage in the skies there. Yeah.
What did you see?
Well, they were giant discs flying around. Some were changing colors.
Do you have video footage of this?
It's on the app, but I sent it to Ancient Aliens, and
see if you can find that. If it's I'm sure they
James Gilliland, the guy who owns the ranch, licensed it and approved Ancient. But if you go to Iseti Ranch YouTube videos, you could probably find one right on YouTube right now.
Wow.
It was incredible.
So these folks are just out there trying to make contact.
Just not trying to make contact, just watching.
Just watching.
Just like in amazement. There's no contact attempt there.
And why?
Yeah, there you go. That's it. I was there that night. That video, I was standing there that night, and there was a lot of activity that night. There was some crazy stuff going on.
And what does this thing look like to the naked eye? We're seeing very blurry, looks like zoomed in footage.
Yeah.
What year is this from?
This is probably
2018.
18. There you go.
So they didn't have the Samsung Galaxy S24.
Yeah, we didn't have that one back then. But from the naked eye, it looks like these giant glowing balls moving around. Sometimes they expand and they change colors. Sometimes they descend right down by Mount Shasta, and then you can see their lighting in the tree line, and then they would go back up into space again. It was just crazy stuff.
Have you seen that ball lightning that they get in Texas that comes out of the mountains?
No, I saw one on the railroad track though, ball lightning.
Yeah, there's this phenomenon that happens in this one particular area in Texas. What was it called? Marfa? Was that what it's called, Jamie? I think it's Marfa. It's like this bizarre artist community town, and they have like frequent instances of what they call the Marfa lights.
Wow.
And it's ball lightning that flies around out there.
Wow, that's
You don't think
incredible.
that could be that?
No, because sometimes they would keep going until they just went out into space.
Oh.
Yeah, and there were so many. Sometimes two would come and they would encircle each other, and then one would change direction and drop down by the mountain, and one would just take off in another direction. Some would go slow, then go and just go.
How
gone.
frequent does this take place?
I don't know. I was only there for those 7 nights. I say the first night we were there, that was when we saw like the 10 in the sky moving around and doing things. The second night, not too much. The third night was a little bit more, maybe 4 or 5.
So do you think that what it is that this place has no light pollution, and they picked a very specific area that they knew these things occur in?
It's possible. No light pollution, and plus also maybe that's an area where they have an opening or access, or I don't know. Who knows? I'm just now speculating now, but I don't know why. That people came from all over the world to that location the week I was there to just camp out and look up at the sky.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, we covered a lot.
Yeah.
3 hours. I really appreciate your time, and appreciate all the stuff you put out there. It's so fun, it's so fascinating, and it's so interesting. And thank you very much for being here, man. I really had a good time.
I
enjoyed
appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Please tell everybody how to find your website, all your social media, all that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, well, first of all, I have my own streaming TV network called Forbidden Knowledge TV. It's an app on the App Store. So they can just go get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app with the number 4, Forbidden Knowledge, and they can get access to a lot of videos and stuff that you can't find on YouTube or anywhere else. You know, produce shows like the one you watched. My Anunnaki series is on the Forbidden Knowledge TV app. And of course, I have all my books on our website, Forbidden Knowledge TV, on Amazon as well. And just everything Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4.
Everything Forbidden Knowledge, bro.
There it is.
Bro. Anyways, bro, like, listening to shit like that, like, just gets my blood going. Like, for why are we like this? Why? We have the capabilities. Them Sims are dumb as hell. They already have AI. It's stupid too. Oh, do they? Oh, I didn't know that. I don't play Sims. I wouldn't know. Also, Sims is owned by EA, and right now they are focused on making the most money out of the franchise. They're trying to make the next Sims game more like a mobile game with microtransactions and more paid content. Oh my god. The franchise could be more like what they were talking about in terms of creativity, but the executives of the game are more focused on maximizing profit. It's at the point where long-term employees are leaving the franchise because of it. Of course. Why wouldn't they? It's so disappointing. It is so disappointing, bro. Bro, Catella, I vote you for president. That's it. You got my vote. I got you. I believe you can make everything great. Oh, you're a long-time Sims player, so I've got the tea. Bro, I bet, bro. I know somebody that plays The Sims, and they're in, like, they fucking love the game. Like, they enjoy the everything of it. Like, they've done some challenges that Sims creators have done. Even my cousin has tried some of, like, the Sims challenges where it's like, what's it called, a 1x1 room, then it's a 2x2, 3x3, blah 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 blah, so on, and you make little rooms of each, and you keep scaling it up and keep scaling it up. That was one of the challenges. I'm pretty sure there was other I don't follow Sim stuff, but I know that was one of them. Yeah, like, I've seen some gameplay of The Sims. It gets pretty crazy. Like, the fact that you can get attacked by gnomes is wild. The fact that, what is it, death can come take your fucking, I don't know, your flock and shit and just kill things. And, like, there's so much to that game that someone that doesn't know anything about it, like me, like I wouldn't know where to start. Like it's just Sims. The Sims sound like a very insane game. A lot of potential in it though, for sure. But anyways, how are you doing, Atala? How is your day going so far? What are you up to? How's your week? Are you off today? Is this like one of the days that you're off? Been just messing around. Oh, excuse me. Messing around, listening to that podcast, and you know, and that's about it. I'm about to head out in a bit. I want to say in a bit, just to get some stuff from like the market. Like I need to buy like food and shit for the house. But I figured to listen to that podcast. All right, so that was it. That was the stream that I wanted to share, that I thought kind of went live on YouTube, but I guess it didn't for whatever reason. So this is my recording of it. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys in the next video. Comment, like, subscribe. You got anything to say? Get in frame, come here.
Oh. Where am I here? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Oh. Alright, what's up? We're gonna like dab up real quick. It's a little awkward. We appreciate you. I appreciate this man here. He's like the best. Like, follow, you won't regret it. Really entertaining, really talented gamer. So yeah. Okay. Bye.